It's episode number 80 with Dexter Cearley. He is the host of the Panhandle Primate podcast, a podcast you probably heard of. Has a lot of great guests. Really cool dude. Sat down for about 3 hours. Podcast was excellent. It was great. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about how he does group runs. Talked about what inspired him to get into podcasting. He's also a firefighter. He's a super deep guy. We talked about religion. Talked about how he volunteers and helps out refugees. Talked about a lot of things. It was a really great podcast. Like I said, it was 3 hours. So we talked about damn near everything. It was a great podcast. As always, thank you for listening. I got some sponsors. I know you want to hear about them because I know you always hear about them. The first sponsor is Atlas Supco. Atlas Supco. They make supplements. They have the best pre-workout. It's made here locally. It's all fresh ingredients, delicious ingredients. Gives you the energy. And even if you don't need to work out, man, supplements are important. You don't realize how important those things are. You don't get these supplements in a regular diet. Eating French fries and cheeseburgers all day. Got to get these veggies in. We're all deficient in something. Whether it's vitamin D, vitamin G, vitamin F, T, Z, all the vitamins. There's like 75 of them. And we need them all. So, hey, go get you some multivitamins. Go get you some pre-workout. Get your workout on. That's Atlas Supco. Type in the promo code JT15. JT15. You get 15% off from Atlas Supco. It's locally operated. All fresh ingredients. All natural. No fillers. Delicious. Fun. Exciting. Organic. I don't know if it's organic, but it's good for you, okay? I don't even know what organic means. Just try it out. Check it out. You get 15% off. Where else are you going to get 15% off? Who you know like me? You might know someone else like me. So, it's really not a big selling point there. But hey, like I said, JT15 is the promo code. AtlasSupco.com. Check it out, fools. Check it out. Also, Spitefully Spicy. Bottled here locally as well. By a very funny guy, Colin Robinson. I know you're probably wondering, where can I find Colin Robinson? You can find him this Tuesday. Yeah, this Tuesday at R&R. It's a bar. We're performing there. This show's only $1 to get in. What? Yeah, I said it. It's $1. Come through. Come see us. Come to have a show. Come have a laugh. It's going to be a great time. We got like 8 comics. It's going to be excellent. Come see us. Come see us at R&R. And also, check out Colin Robinson's Instagram page. And then, check out his other Instagram page, where it's got salsa. Spitefully Spicy salsa. Got like 10 different flavors. All delicious. I got it in my fridge right now. It goes on everything. I got hash green chili, strawberry reaper, mango habanero, many other flavors. Different levels of spice for different levels of life. Whoa. I should write that down. I'll tell them about it. Different levels of spice for different levels of life. Spitefully Spicy on Instagram. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. What else we got? Dragster Tubes. You guys know about Dragster Tubes. If you don't know about Dragster Tubes, you should Google it. You should go to dragstertubes.com. See what they're all about. Telescopic paparosa tubes. Okay? Convenient. Stylish. Easy to use. Okay? Pre-rolled. Stuff your tobacco in there. You ain't got to roll nothing. I'm bad at rolling things. Except my ankles. I roll those a lot. I'm clumsy. But you're not. Or maybe you are. And that's why you need Dragster Tubes. Go to dragstertubes.com. Go to amazon.com. You can find Dragster Tubes there. You can go on Instagram. You can go on Facebook. You can go to Green Gorilla, the local smoke shop, and get yourself some Dragster Tubes. Like I said, that's dragstertubes.com. Telescopic paparosa tubes. World's famous, probably. Check it out, guys. And this intro is brought to you by Jay Hare and the Mockingbirds. Homie I had on the podcast before, Jay Hare, Jordan Hare. He did a freestyle way back with Colin Robinson, the guy I plugged earlier. They were both on, both funny guys. Jay Hare's super talented. He's about to go on tour with the band. What's the name of the band? The name is escaping right now. I'm a bad podcaster. It is... Okay. Jay Hare and the Mockingbirds. They have another name. What is another name? That's going to bother me. I'm going to think about it later after I upload this, and I'm going to be like, damn, I'm stupid. Smooth Taste. Smooth Taste is the name of the band. So the band Smooth Taste works with Jordan Hare, and under this name, they're Jay Hare and the Mockingbirds. The song is called 4 Rows. So I'll put a link. Follow it. It's on Spotify. It's everywhere. Please enjoy this podcast, and please enjoy this intro. I love you.
Tributaries, roaring drums, thunderstorming. The fender face lace, smelting slim waist, beauties belting on them. Acid tripping, walking water bags, orbiting space station. Trays of ash, comet passing vessels of holy hash. Memory lane, real estate worth more than cash. For some Benjamins, y'all fake, can't escape the place is vast. Remembering or forgetting again what dates have passed. This house party is like warm temple halls. The house show sermon seeps inside the walls. Aha, the room where the true my computer be installed. All for all.
So cut me loose, got the swoosh up on my shoes. More.
You know, like if I had, I need a better mic.
Yeah.
I'll podcast, but once I get a better mic, you know, or once I get a better computer, or once I get a, you know, or once I get a studio, I would do it. I just don't have a studio, you know?
Yeah,
it's like all excuses.
There's always a good excuse. Mm-hmm. And having that one mic in the middle is a good idea. I like the way you do that, because there's another podcast, the Booze Brothers. I was on their podcast once, and they do the same thing.
Really?
That way. Yeah.
And so this is my only thing is like with the individual mics, I feel like it'd be easier with a group.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, because then each person, if you're not with the mic right in front of you, you cannot talk, you know? So I feel like if you have like a little bit of a larger group, it maybe would like keep people from over talking. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I've done, I did some drunk podcasts with about 5 or 6 people, and we were just like sitting beside each other and talking into it. So yeah, we kind of did it that way. Because you can only get up to 4 on these. And I mean, I don't think I'd ever need more than 4. It's kind of unnecessary. But when you do have 4 people on, there's a lot of crosstalk, and that can become a thing.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. I've tried to only stick with one guest at a time, just because I feel like it's really hard to get engaged or to get in like a zone when you have multiple people, because it's like, who am I trying to mine, you know, for information?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult, because like I want to set up a question, I want to follow up on something, and then someone else interjects and like, oh, we got to go with that.
And then you're kind of like, do I circle back to this, or do we go with the flow of the conversation? It's always that's been the hardest thing for me, is like figuring out how to get into a groove.
Yeah,
that is not me speaking too much. You know, that's engaging the I almost said guest. I'm all over the place right now.
That's cool. How did you I already started recording. How did you what inspired you to get it started? I know you said you want, like when I was on your podcast, you said you wanted other people to do podcasts, so you started one.
Yeah. That was the main thing, is I kept running into people, and I'd always say, you should have a podcast about this. Like I work with several guys, and like I almost like build podcasts for them. Like, well, I don't actually do it. I just like talk about the idea. I'm like, oh, you need to do hunting, and you need to talk about arrows and bows, and just be a nerd about whatever you're a nerd about. And I started realizing that all these different people around me were super unique and interesting and cool. So why don't I engage them, you know, or like in a podcast? Like if I'm telling them to do it, why don't I just go ahead and do it and show them that literally anybody can do it, because I'm doing it, you know? So that was the main thing, was to try to inspire other people, so that whenever I said you should start a podcast, I could say, look, I did it. It's super easy, you know? That was that was the main thing. And then also, I was actually listening to one of yours, and I don't know which one it was recently, and you were kind of talking about the same thing. And you were saying, damn, I'm not going to be able to remember it now. I remembered it right before I started saying it, but you were kind of saying, oh shit, I lost it. Man, I was just listening to it yesterday. And whenever you said it, I thought, man, I'm going to say that on his podcast. And now I'm just rambling about not being able to remember it. But anyway, you spoke beautifully to it, as well as how it's so easy with the internet and with all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. Just get out there and start a podcast, you know? And it's interesting. You'll find your voice through the podcast. You can't know your voice when you start the podcast.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a process.
And you also find the things you hate about yourself, like not necessarily hate about yourself, but I say so much, and I don't know if other people probably don't notice it, but I notice it extremely bad. So
yeah, it depends on how critically they're listening. What was the original question?
Just what inspired you to do it?
Oh yeah,
and
then, Joe Rogan, of course. You know, like listening to Joe Rogan and like seeing walls literally be knocked down between communities by him having a guest on and breaking a stereotype. Where you like some people. It's interesting because most of the people that I know or that I'm friends with, work with, they'd say that Joe Rogan's a liberal. They'd say, oh, he's a pot-smoking hippie, right? And then you go to the hippie community or the liberal community, and they'd all say, no, he's a right-wing conservative.
Alt-right.
He's alt-right.
Alt-right adjacent.
He's a hunter, and he's a aggro, you know, he's into beating people up and breaking arms, you know? So it was just interesting to me how you had in one guy, one person, all of these different aspects, like really working harmoniously together to create like a well-rounded individual. So through listening to that, I kind of was like, man, I think I could do that. You know, I think I could sit down and talk with somebody for hours on end. So that's kind of how I got inspired to do it, you know, I guess.
Yeah, and listening to Joe Rogan's definitely helps me out, just be more open-minded, realize that I'm not as far to the right as I thought I was previously. I was kind of raised as a Republican, and then I start listening to other things. I'm
You're
like,
raised
I'm really
as a Texan.
I don't have to agree with everything on the right side, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I feel like guys like Rogan, like Bill Burr, he considers himself a liberal, but I mean, at the end of the day, he's way more moderate than a lot of liberals.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. I'm not even sure what I'd label myself as a libertarian, you know, but it's kind of one of those things like when you really start like looking at the different issues, I fall on different sides of every issue.
Yeah,
you know, some sides I'm more liberal, some I'm more conservative, you know, so it's kind of a weird thing that like almost I feel like it's a tool to divide the country.
Absolutely.
Saying, you know, they don't want us to look at each other and see the common things. And I don't even know who they are. I'm saying they, you know. But like
that's a good point.
The line in the sand. Somebody's putting a line in the sand and they're wanting us to stand on either side of it, you know. My wife's been reading a lot about hegemony, societal hegemony.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I've always said hegemony, but I've never heard it out loud.
Dude, it might be hegemony. I'm not sure.
That's just how I read it in my head.
Hegemony.
Hegemony. That's a fun word.
Hegemony. I'm not sure. One of those, but
you're probably right.
She's been reading it, and it's interesting because there's this dude named Gramsci. He was a communist writer in Italy. But what's interesting is he was like imprisoned by the fascist communist in Italy. So it's kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Was this like a while back?
Oh yeah, like a while back. I think it was early 1900s, possibly late 1800s. I can't really remember, but it was just interesting because like we've been talking communist ideas in my house, and neither of us are like at any risk of switching to be a communist party member. But it's interesting to talk about the ideas and to hear out a critique of capitalism. And so it's kind of like one of those things that blows my mind a little bit because it's like I'm not supposed to be having that conversation. I'm supposed to close the conversation down at communism, right? No more. I'm not going to talk about that anymore.
Communist Russia.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I have all of these like, and almost like in my body, I have like a physiological response to the word communism. You know, like I'm a traitor or something. You know, and it's just interesting. One of the things that podcasts and listening to podcasts got me to realize is that what people label themselves as is oftentimes not the case. You think you're one thing, But then in reality, once you get into a 2-hour conversation, you're not that, you know, you're not like what you, the borderline or surface level thing you define yourself as. So it's kind of interesting. Like if you don't open yourself to the possibility that you are wrong, you will never grow. You can't absorb new ideas.
That's very true.
So it's kind of like one of those things. I think capitalism is a pretty good idea. I think socialism is a pretty bad idea. But then, like Andrew Yang, have you been following Andrew Yang?
Yeah, I was about to mention him.
Yeah, so
when he brings up automation,
yeah,
like, that's something you got to consider.
Oh yeah, well, and when he brings up like there's all these different things like so like UBI is kind of a socialistic move.
Absolutely.
But then you start thinking like, what else in our culture is already socialized that. And then you like look at the public education system, and it's like, well, they're doing pretty shitty at that, so maybe we shouldn't let them socialize a lot of things, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a, you know, there needs to be an exchange of ideas. It can't be one way or the other.
Absolutely.
You know? So
because like I've gone back and forth on like socialized medicine, you know, because at first it's bad, you know, but then it's like, oh, you know, someone in the UK didn't have to pay anything, and then you look at it again, you're like, oh, they had to wait 6 months for a pancreas. So like
yeah,
it's good and bad with everything.
It is good and bad with everything, man. There's no clear cut thing. And I mean, like, I see that on the fire department. The people who use us the most are not the ones that take good care of themselves. Those are the ones that use us the least.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like one of those things in a socialized circumstance. The people who take the worst care of themselves take up the majority of the resources.
That's the thing too, is like people say, oh, healthcare's a right, but then you see people who are like, I'm getting as fat as I can so I can be an Instagram model. Like, you don't deserve healthcare.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. It's like you know what is free? Taking a walk around the block. You know what is free is getting up in the morning and doing a few push-ups, doing a few sit-ups. You know, it's actually it's the path to freedom. You
Absolutely.
know, like physical fitness is the path to freedom.
There's freedom and discipline. I've heard that from several higher ups, people I look up to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna ask. You do a group run.
Yes.
How often does that happen?
Well, we've had two. The first one, just me and one of my buddies showed up. My buddy Matthew. We didn't actually promote it at all. You know, we just kind of we probably should have promoted it, but we were both kind of busy and neither of us thought about it. And honestly, I kind of wanted to just test out the waters. Like, what's it going to be like meeting up? Do we go for an hour run? Do we go for a 30-minute run? What about different ability levels? Like if somebody can only run 2 miles versus somebody wanting to run 7, you know?
Can you run pretty far distances?
Yeah, I've done a bunch of half marathons, like
Nice.
I think maybe 6 or 7. And you know that
It's like 4 marathons.
yeah, exactly. I know. I haven't done a marathon yet. My goal, I'm hoping this next year at Polidoro Canyon they put on 50K.
Oh.
So that's what I'm hoping to run. It's 30.1 miles, I think, or
So
30.2.
a half
maybe.
marathon's 15 miles?
Half marathon is 13.1.
That's still a lot.
And then a full marathon is 26.2, and then the 50K is like just over 30. And so my thought process is if I'm going to train for a marathon distance, I might as well get an ultra marathon, you know? Because then I can say I did an ultra marathon. If I just run the 26, it's only 4 more miles.
Oh, really?
You know?
Okay.
Yeah,
I was going to
at
ask
that
what
point.
ultra means.
Yeah, ultra is anything over a marathon distance.
Okay.
So that's 50K to 240 miles. Very different.
You drink an ultra every 5 miles.
Yeah, I wish. That's more my speed. You know, like right now, there's no chance I'll ever win a race. But if we integrated something like that where you have to like drink a beer a mile, I'd have a lot higher chance of like finishing ahead of people, you know.
I've seen I don't know if he still does them, but Kevin Hart, all about his fitness, he does group run type things. I've seen a couple of them, but it was years ago. But he would just like get on Instagram Live and be like, "Hey everyone, we're gonna go run," and like hundreds of people would show up and just run with him.
That's beautiful, man. There is something primal about running in a group. You know, like the first one I ever did was the Amarillo. I believe it was called the Amarillo Marathon, and it was out on like 9th Street, and then Old Sauncey. You just kind of went down Old Sauncey and back up and came back. And that first like experience of like running as the sun's coming up, and all you hear is just, just footsteps everywhere, and just a big group of people all going out. You know, an exhilarating experience for sure. But I think our next one is May 26th. It's a Sunday. So like Bad Magic Music Festival is I believe the 25th, and I'm setting up a booth there with Critical Mass, Critical Mass Bomb City. The bike riding group, they meet the last Friday of every month.
Oh, nice.
And then the next day is a Sunday, and we're going to meet at Pondicetta, go for a run. So
Awesome. Have you had anyone from Pondicetta on your podcast?
Not yet.
I was just thinking about it today.
I've got both of those dudes in the like I've talked to both of them about being on. I just haven't. And actually, like one of my wife's best friends is one of the bartenders / she's brewed like several batches with them.
Nice.
So I've talked to them, but they've been crazy busy. And then my life has recently gotten a little bit more busy, so I haven't.
You're about to have a second child, right?
Yeah, about to have a number 2 in July, and
do you know the gender yet?
yeah, a little boy.
Oh, it's exciting.
Yeah.
2 boys.
Oh, dude, it's gonna be mayhem, dude. It's like I'm so excited. Like, my wife, she had 2 brothers, and so like part of like when we started dating, part of the reason I knew that I wanted to marry her, and part of the reason that I knew it was gonna work out was because she was like tougher than I was. So anything that we would go do, like I did a lot of rock climbing and
Yeah, you took her to poop in the woods, right?
yeah, that was like my number one like thing. If I'm dating a girl, if she cannot take a shit in the woods, she's cut right then. It doesn't matter how hot she is. It doesn't matter what the connection was like. You can't shit in the woods, you're gone right there. Shannon has, she can poop in the woods. I don't think she'd mind me saying that. When you're camping, dude, you got no other options.
That's true.
You gotta go dig a hole. Drop that turd off.
When we were camping, my mom had like this bucket to poop in. I mean, I still went outside. I didn't trust the bucket, but
The old poop bucket, dude. The thing is, you don't want to, at the end of that trip, be emptying out the poop bucket. Like, you don't want that to be your job,
definitely not.
I've heard, though, that the key to storing feces is not peeing on it. That's what causes it to, like, emit, like, the
bad smells.
Like, really start smelling bad, is if you pee on your poop.
Good to know.
Yeah, I was looking into, like, compostable toilets for a while.
It's hard not to pee when you're pooping, though. You just gotta aim away.
Yeah, well, I think the goal would be like maybe pee first and then go into the poop. Like you pee outside and then you go into the pooper,
I get that.
Because you can't. I mean, that's the thing is you can't hold it back mid poop. I don't know how we got to start. You want one of these beers, man?
We went on
Are
a
you
tangent.
good?
Yeah, I'll take a beer. And I was gonna ask before we got too far off from where we were previously, Panhandle Primate.
Yes.
Is that just like a evolutionary thing? Like, how'd you come up with that?
Well, so the idea was like yourself. I think in the future, like I was calling them digital archaeologists because we've got like my phone follows me everywhere. It's like a little. We have to wear Fitbits and shit to count our steps. Well, the phone's counting everything. It's probably, we're recording this through the computer, but my phone's probably recording what we're saying right now too,
Yeah.
So my idea was like, in 30, 40, 50 years, there's going to be people whose job it is to like archive our time, right? So they're going to be like looking back.
That's kind of sad.
And they're not going to distinguish between us. They're going to see us as the exact same person. They're going to say, oh, look, there's slight differences, but look, they listen to all the same podcasts. They even had podcasts and they Instagrams and like, they compare all this stuff and we would be the same strata, the way that a paleontologist dates dinosaur bones based off of their strata, we would be dated off of our digital stratas, based off who we are. And so my idea was like, okay, and I'm always grand, like in my ideas, like the idea stage of everything I do. It's like, okay, millions and billions of people are going to listen to my podcast. So what I wanted was whenever the digital archaeologist comes across me, he says, oh, he goes in the Panhandle Primate strata,
Okay.
Like I wanted to label the strata as, so, and I was thinking like, what would they call me? Well, he's in the Panhandle of Texas and he's a monkey. So they'd call him the Panhandle Primate.
It's extremely deep. I like that.
So that was kind of my my idea. for it. You like hoppy beers?
I love hoppy beers.
Yeah, so this is shout out to Odell Brewing Company, man. This IPA is by far one of my this is like, so I don't get to buy much beer.
Fort Collins. I'm going to Fort Collins at the end of the month.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Dude, there's a lot of fun shit to do in Fort Collins.
Yeah, we got some shows lined up, so it's
really
exciting. Yeah.
Where are your shows at in Fort Collins?
I had to check. I know one of them's at like a gay bar club.
Nice.
Other than that, I don't know.
They like to laugh.
Yeah.
I see. I used they again. I generalize them as all the
Those. I'm going with Skylar Potter, another local comedian. I don't know if you've seen him around.
Yeah. Well, I've listened to his podcast, The Weekly Relapse.
Shout out The Weekly Relapse.
Yeah. So, boom.
Yeah, he's on all the shows. I'm just tagging along.
Nice.
Like, hey, let me in. You know.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a networking opportunity.
Yeah, dude.
I found that's the key in comedy. It's not about like, I mean, it is about how funny you are, but also it's like, who do you know? Like, who's gonna put me on? And not like put me on not like put me on so I don't have to work hard, but like, you know.
Yeah.
Get my foot in the door.
Oh yeah, dude. It's all about networking, man. Like that's what it. And see, this is the thing too. Is what's cool about y'all doing that is y'all are ambassadors for Amarillo. So now.
That is
like,
exciting.
let's say he just goes out there by himself, right? Just one dude. They're less likely to remember one dude versus two dudes, even if you don't get up on stage. If you're working the crowd while he's up on stage, you know, it's like, oh, do you remember those guys from Amarillo? They have a thing going. They make a contact. Now, Fort Collins guys are hitting up Amarillo guys saying, hey, we're going to be coming through Amarillo, some shit up, you know?
That's how it works.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And that's the thing is it's not about you wanting to work less hard. That's about you wanting to work more hard. That's the thing is it never slows down. Like once that ball gets rolling, it only rolls faster. Well, I guess I take that back. It will stop if you don't keep pushing it.
Absolutely.
You know, but you got to keep the thing rolling. And it only gets harder and longer.
That's why I don't sleep enough.
Yeah. How many hours a night do you get to sleep?
I get about 6, 7 on a good night. 5 if I really need to get something done.
Oh, dude, you need to start pushing that out, man. You need to start pushing it out to like 8.
I know.
8 plus a nap, dude.
Absolutely.
That's the life. You know, that's why I work so
I can't take naps. If I feel like taking a nap, I go to the gym.
You can't take naps?
Well, if I take a nap, I get more tired. So it's just like, I'm going to go run on the treadmill for 20 minutes.
I was listening to NPR the other day, and they said that the key to a perfect nap, and I was like, this sounds pretty brilliant. They say you keep it between 30 minutes and an hour, no more than that, and you drink a cup of coffee right before you lay down. So that whenever you wake up from the nap, that caffeine's kicking in, and it takes off that. I was like, damn. Like
okay.
I haven't tried it yet,
Yeah.
but it sounded like it maybe had some merit.
There's been so many times where I've like set my alarm, like I'm going to sleep for 40 minutes, and then, nope, it's 3 hours.
You needed it, man. You needed
Maybe
it.
so.
You hitting the gym? What gym you going to?
Crunch.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's where my wife goes.
Nice. My girlfriend actually knows your wife. They
Yeah,
worked at
Crush together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Shannon actually told me this. Shannon was like, Matt's dating Jocelyn. That's her name, right?
I gotta find out if she can poop in the forest.
Dude, you do. Because this is the thing, man. Did I tell you this this takes me back to my senior year of high school. I had this moment where I was sitting in class. It was English class. And I looked at the girl next to me. She was like catty corner, like kind of next row over, but one row up. And I looked over, and her shoes were tied super fucking tight. She was wearing some like Skechers. And they were tied. And I like looked at those shoes. And then I kind of like, it popped out in my head because I had never, I didn't even tie my shoes in high school. At that point, I was like too cool to tie my shoes. Sometimes I still don't tie my shoes, But I looked over and I was like, damn, in the event of a fire, she has the highest likelihood of not tripping over her shit.
I don't know. It could be so tight that her, too much pressure on her ankles.
It could be. But New Balance is kind of, they're made to tie tight, So I started looking around at all these other chicks in the room. I was like, flip flops, Toms, high heels. These bitches ain't running.
They're not, flats.
The flats, they're not running.
Yeah.
So it made me feel like instantly I had a thought. I was like, you know what? In the event of a zombie apocalypse, who's the best one in this room to like hitch your wagon to? The chick who ties her shoes tight. She's getting out of some tricky situations.
That's true.
So other girls are blowing out flip-flops, you know what I'm saying? So that was one of the things I realized. I was
Carry your chunklos and run.
Yeah, I was like, instantly, you're carrying them. You're carrying them, you know? I instantly thought, I was like, man, I'm going to start judging people based off of their likelihood of, like, surviving a zombie apocalypse. And this is before The Walking Dead and everything, you know, before zombies became cool. I actually got made fun of quite a bit on the fire department for being the zombie guy, you know?
I had a zombies obsession for a while.
Yeah.
Now it's like too mainstream.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is I never actually thought it was a likelihood. You know, I never actually thought zombies were going to come. But I was like, it would be interesting if you engineered your life so as to prevent, you know, so as to be prepared for that, because then you're prepared for everything. You know?
It also depends on the caliber of zombie, you know, like Walking Dead zombies, I think we could handle that.
Oh,
but like I Am
like
Legend zombies, we're screwed.
The Walking Dead zombies, that the reason The Walking Dead was so popular was not because of the acting or the writing. The acting was shit. The writing was shit. And this is the thing. I can say this because I watched the very first episode of The Walking Dead, and I watched all of them up until it got stupid. And the whole time it was terrible. Acting, the writing, there's plot holes all over the place. The reason people watched it was because they like to imagine themselves stabbing zombies and crushing them with bats and shit. And I was like, you know, those are the kind of zombies I want. Yeah. If we have them. I Am Legend, I'm out. World War Z, I'm out.
I haven't seen that one. That's the one where they make ladders of themselves. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
They get into Jerusalem over the wall. That's not. I guess that's one good reason to build a wall. If you have zombies,
keep out the zombies.
Yeah,
Trump's gonna be like, I told y'all.
Yeah, Trump. He's like, he lives the zombies. I was preparing y'all.
That sounded a little like Arnold, but he'd probably say it too.
Get over the wall. Oh man.
Oh, that's funny. I was gonna ask. You mentioned the Panhandle Primate Posse on your last podcast.
Oh yeah,
Is that a group now? You got a fan club?
I think. Well, it's not a fan club. That's what I. So the second group run that we had, it was me plus 5, and all of those dudes are solid, awesome dudes. Love them all. They all are. So what the idea was I was trying to think of a name, because what I want to do is have a running team. The goal's not necessarily to win. The goal is just to go to half marathons and run the half marathon. If you finish a half marathon, then you have won, even if you're last place, you know? So I was like, man, I want to have like a team, but what would I call the team? And I've been trying to stay with the PPP, because my idea is like I eventually want to get a logo that's just 3 Ps. So I really want to have like, it'd be the most versatile 3 Ps possible. So Panhandle Primate Posse, Panhandle Primate Productions, Panhandle Primate Podcast.
Oh, okay, you got an umbrella.
Panhandle Primate Pruning.
Panhandle possibly. Primate LLC.
Yeah. So, and which I haven't done that yet, but possibly in the future I might get motivated enough to do it. But yeah, that's what I want to call the running group, because the thing is, man, it's, at least I know whenever I started running, it was really difficult. You have to get over the 5 miles. That's the mark. If you haven't run 5 miles, you can't say you hate running. Because,
I haven't run 5 miles.
Yeah, until you get over 5, that's the breakover point. Once you work up and get over 5 miles, then you can decide whether you like running or not, because it changes. It's a different experience. It's like more meditative.
Is that when you hit that runner's high? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so the runner's high is more of like the word high has kind of, it takes on a lot of different connotations, like you're on Oxycontin, you're smoking some weed, or you're running, right? All 3 of them are completely different experiences. But like running, whenever you break over this point, number one, it's this confidence that you get, because you know, like, okay, my car breaks down. Yeah. Literally anywhere in Amarillo, I can get to a friend's house. I can get to somebody without them having to like come pick me up. You know, I can run wherever I need to go. So the confidence that comes from being able to run, that's one like aspect of it. But it's like, I don't know, I guess I've never really broken it down, but there's probably like multiple tiers to it, you know? It's like the confidence of knowing you can do something, the actual completion of something that is difficult. It's not necessarily like a super easy thing to do. But then also like working towards a goal, you know? Like all of those things are like outside of running. But then the actual feeling you get whenever you whenever you hit 3 or 4 miles, you got some hip hop bumping in your headbuds, and you're seeing people. That's one of the things that's really nice is you don't ever like look at people when you're driving.
Yeah.
You're kind of you're focused on different things, but when you're running, you can like, hey, this guy's mowing his yard, or this lady's walking her dog, or this person just drove by. This one thing you notice all the time: somebody drives by you on their phone. Literally, they could kill you.
I hate seeing that
because they're on their phone, and you just see them just drive right by. They never even look up. You know,
that's crazy.
It's like they never even saw that I was running right next to them. And that freaks me out. Because now I got a kid. I know got another kid on the way. It's like. And I've seen some kids hit by cars.
And everyone's on their phone now. It's
dude, everyone's
regardless
on their phone,
of what age group.
Yeah, it's extended upwards and downwards. I mean, everybody's on their phones.
Yeah, because there was always like, oh, these millennials and their phones. And I was at a restaurant yesterday, and this is an old couple. They weren't talking to each other at all. They sat down. All they did was look at their phones the whole time.
The sad truth of the human species is we've just been looking for an excuse not to talk to each other. Like this entire time. That's what civilization has been leading us to. I don't have to talk to you anymore. That was like the goal. I feel like the hidden goal, maybe.
Maybe so.
Maybe it was more like the gravitational pull. Does your aunt ever sit down?
Sometimes.
Onto the podcast?
No, she hasn't sat on the podcast.
I haven't had the woman I live with, Shannon, my wife. She hasn't come on my podcast.
Oh, she wanted to?
No, she actually doesn't want to at all.
Interesting.
She considers like sitting in front of a microphone like terrifying.
I had Jocelyn and a friend on. I guess that was the last one, or two weeks ago probably. Not bad. It was fun.
Yeah, I listened to that one with her friend.
Yeah, Kimmy. She's crazy. She's funny.
Yeah, nice.
I was super excited to have her on just because she's like so. She talks with her body so much.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
Pretty animated?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's hilarious.
But, yeah, that's awesome, man.
Have you been to a Sod Poodles game yet?
No, I've not. I'm slated to go to 2, like almost back to back.
Nice.
My dad, hit the company he works for, I guess has a box. I didn't know that they had boxes at the Sod Poodles, but...
Yeah, my boss was telling me about that.
Yeah.
Because she's going to take us all.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I guess we're going to that one day, and then a group of friends, we're all going, taking our kids, and we got seats all together, so this next month I'll be going twice. I'm pretty excited about it.
That's
I mean,
cool.
I don't like baseball. I'm not into baseball really at all.
Yeah, and I've been to San Francisco Giants, and their stadium was awesome.
Yeah,
I just loved being there. I didn't really watch. And then I went to the Rangers, and that was even more boring because I was in the box. And I was just eating nachos the whole time. And they won. They had like a bunch of home runs. It was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw some badass fireworks at a Rangers game. I was in the same boat though. I was up in a box.
Yeah.
And so like we could kind of like pop out, and like sit in the seats like commoners,
It doesn't feel right in a box to me.
No, it was kind of, I was like, I don't know, it was almost too easy, too cheap really, I like to spend a lot of money whenever I go to baseball games.
Do you?
No.
Was it sarcasm? Okay.
No, I did not.
I didn't sense the tone.
That was actually the only reason that I went to that game. Granted, I mean, I don't mind. I like seeing the stadiums. I like experiencing the experience. And there is something like in the air at a baseball game,
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
But it was because everything was free. Like the beer was free, and and then I wasn't driving because I was with at the time I was with my wife and with my in-laws. And my in-laws invited us to the box, so so I could get a little snockered and not have to worry about driving home.
I like that. So. No, San Francisco Stadium's awesome just because it's right by the ocean and you feel that breeze on you. And I mean, I'd love to see like Red Sox and Yankees stadiums for sure, but I mean, other than that, it's whatever.
Yeah, I'm more interested in the stadium than I am in the game.
Absolutely, just the history of it.
Yeah, I wish we had a better game to watch. Football has too many head injuries.
Yeah, football's crazy. Would you you have kids now, so it's something you got to think about.
Oh yeah.
Contact sports like football. What do you feel about that?
So I played football, starting I think in the 4th grade, and I quit my freshman year of high school, and then I started wrestling my freshman year of high school, and I finished out my high school wrestling. And I have injuries today from football. And that got me nowhere in life. Like, football literally taught me nothing. It actually taught me how to work out incorrectly. I was yelled at by fat dudes all the whole practice. It's like, I don't know if it's a prerequisite, like there's a weight, like a minimum weight you have to weigh at least this to be a football coach, or something like that. But they were all big dudes. I mean, lovely people. So they taught me great lessons. But it just doesn't make sense to me to put on. Have you heard Joe Rogan talk about the UFC and thinking they should go bare knuckle? Mm-hmm. Because you can't hit as hard.
Yeah.
If I hit you full bore with my hand, it'll break my hand.
I've actually heard them say like it's actually you get more head trauma from boxing gloves because they're heavier.
Right. Well, and also and since my hand won't break, I can hit you harder with my hand. Mm-hmm. Versus if I don't have that guard on, I can't hit you as hard with my hand. So we're doing the same thing, but we're doing it around people's heads.
Yeah.
And then we're telling.
And you're running full speed.
Yeah.
Getting a
20-yard
kids, sprint.
Like, that's what blows my mind is like it's almost like setting up kids for failure later in life. Mm-hmm. Because we're teaching them one way of getting out their aggression. Yeah. Right? You hit the shit out of somebody. Yeah. You hit them as hard as you possibly can. And the harder you hit them, the less it hurts you. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing about like football. That if you get a good, and that's why it's so fun. Mm-hmm. I mean, I loved it. Like whenever I was doing it, I loved lighting somebody up.
Yeah, I do too. Absolutely.
But the problem with that is you learn really quickly that if you hit them harder than they hit you, it doesn't hurt you at all. And it completely hurts them. They absorb all of the shock.
I've definitely thrown my head into people in high school, and I was like, damn, that hurt a lot.
Yeah. Well, see, so like that's kind of my thing is I think jiu-jitsu is where I think it's at in wrestling as far as contact.
Have you done jiu-jitsu?
I've done a few sessions at Lone Star Jiu-Jitsu.
I feel like that's picked up quite a bit recently.
Oh, yeah, Joe Rogan. Yeah. I mean, Eddie Bravo, those guys launched it, really. But the thing is, it's fun as hell. Super practical. Mm-hmm. You get in flows with it. The community around it, like there's a great camaraderie. So it's like what a sport should be. Mm-hmm. It has all the things a sport should be. Now, there is a danger factor. But if you learn how to train properly, you know. You
danger, like getting choked out?
Well, like, yes, getting choked out. There's possibility for joint injuries. Mm-hmm. There's possibility, I mean, it's a contact sport. It's a full contact sport. But part of the reason, like, I want to teach my kids that, and part of the reason is so that they can show restraint. And, the more confidence a person has, the less likely they are to fight.
That's very true.
It's always the dickheads that start fights.
Yeah, it's never the black belt. Mm-mm. He's just standing back like nobody touched me.
And he's ending shit. Like, this is the cool
and
thing.
It's the calmest guy always wins the fight. Oh, yeah.
Well, and the thing is, so Talis Horta, who is the black belt there, and I mean, he's a black belt, but honestly, if you're like one belt up, which I believe is the blue belt, like I could come at you full bore. Like Talis, if Talis and me are squaring off, and he says, try to kill me, right? Like, beat me up. I can go full bore, throwing kicks, throwing punches, using the wrestling that I know, using the very minimal amount of jiu-jitsu that I know, and I literally will not be able to hurt him.
Wow.
Like, seriously, I mean, that's not even that's a no-shitter. Like, I literally will not be able to hurt him. And by the end of it, he will not be out of breath, and he will have me in a position where I am completely restrained, and the only thing that I can do is tap.
Wow.
I mean, and so like that's the power of jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Jiu-jitsu can actually make it to where if you're in a fight, you're not fighting. Mm-hmm. Because most of the time the other guy's not going to know jiu-jitsu. If he does know jiu-jitsu, then it'll be a different type of fight, and who knows how that'll go. I don't exactly know if like two jiu-jitsu guys like squared off against each other. But Talis, I mean, I know I can't hurt him, So it's kind of like one of those things. That's what I want to give my son. Yeah. I want to give him the ability to subdue an opponent at will without having to hurt them. Because that's the thing is he'll be able to get him in a position, get him in a lock or a choke, and be able to control them till they regain control of themselves.
And he's going to have that discipline. He's going to know how to breathe. Mm-hmm. He's not going to lose his cool.
Nope.
He's going to be calm, relaxed, and that guy's going to be done.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, man, is like my 2-year-old's already a little savage, dude. Like he'll need it. Like he's going to need to get choked out a few times. He's very hard-headed, very like strong-willed, you know. So he's going to need that, and it's a good way of like learning humility, like in a safe way. I don't think football doesn't have the same thing, you know, in it. I don't think, because there's a lot more since you're less exposed. You have a helmet on, you have a uniform on, you have your shoulder pads on. You're less yourself. You're more taking on the persona of a different person, you know. And hey, you know, it's a free country. I think anybody. I don't think parents are bad parents for letting their kids play football, and I don't think that kids should not want to play football. I think it's a great opportunity to go to college and different things, but there's a very, very small percentage of people that it's going to serve when they're 30.
Absolutely.
Very small percentage.
It's like 1% or less, probably.
Probably less of people who start off playing football at the age of 4. Like, and then if you put that against the amount of like brain injuries and, you know, kids that today, right now, cannot walk because they were playing football.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
There's probably more kids that can't walk today from football than are playing in the NFL. You know, or more people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But so I don't know. It's interesting. We have as a society, we have this like unique, or not society, as a species, we have this unique. It kind of goes back to the sacrificial lamb. You know, killing the thing that is the most prized in our society. Right? Who do we send off to war? Young 18-year-olds, zealous, patriotic
no direction
individuals,
yet.
Right? You know, we sacrifice them. Those are the ones that we sacrifice. Those are the ones who like, hey, who wants to go do that? Me. You know, they put their hand up, right?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of an interesting thing. Like, imagine if, as a society, instead of us taking those guys and ramming their heads into each other over and over and over, we like set them down and said, hey, figure out a way to get to Mars.
Yeah.
And we're going to pay you millions of dollars, you know? Like, if that was the outcome, you know?
Yeah, like we pushed different things.
Yeah, if we pushed them to the same way, like, it will get you laid, right?
Yeah.
You get somebody to Mars, it will get you laid.
Or like, instead of just saying, hey, you're not successful unless you go to college, and be like, hey, look at all these trades. Like, you make 6 figures doing, what is it? What's the thing that everyone does? With
oil
with the metals, and they like...
Oh, welding.
Welding, yeah, welding.
Hell yeah, dude.
Pays a shitload of money.
Oh, shit, dude. There are people that are racking that shit up, and it's like it's always one of those things like Bernie Sanders says, hey, I want to make free college for everybody, and I want the world to be fair.
Same thing with healthcare. Like, we don't all deserve college.
No, we don't all need college.
Fuck,
I didn't go to college. I went to the fire academy out of school. Guess who didn't go into debt? And guess who had all their debt paid off by 25? And, you know, me. My sister is a pharmacist. She's still paying on her debt from school.
That's crazy.
You know? So, I mean, it's kind of like one of those things like, it's a lie. And it's a lie that we tell to the kids in high school. We go up to them and we say, hey, you know what? You need to go to college. Well, what if you're dyslexic? I was fucking dyslexic, you know? Like, I couldn't read.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I went through a large portion of my life thinking I was dumb. Like, feeling this confliction, and then it started, like, realizing, like, oh, wait, I'm just not good at what they're good at. I don't want to sit and study for 5 hours. I want to bust down a wall. Give me a hammer and just say, bust down this wall. And I can do that. And so there's a place for that in the world. You know, there's a place for every talent, natural talent. You know, you just have to open up, broaden your horizons.
Absolutely.
And I don't think I think it's like an elitist view of the world, saying you have to go to college to be something.
It really
is, elitist.
Yeah.
Like it's saying.
I went to college. I got a degree, but I want to be a comedian. So it's like, I didn't get it for no reason. It might help at some point, but right now it's not anything. And it's like in my.
And how much did it cost you?
It cost me right now I owe $10,000 still. It was 14 altogether.
14. So imagine if 18-year-old you had taken $14,000 and traveled the country doing comedy, right?
Yeah.
Same amount of debt. What are you gonna like? What's gonna serve you when you're 30? What's gonna serve you when you're 40?
I would have been a lot further towards what I enjoy.
And like my wife,
what I want.
My wife went to college right out of high school, and she was really smart, you know, top 10% of her class and everything. She started partying, and she didn't really take school serious. Then we get together. She drops out of school. We get married and hang out for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Then she chooses to go back to school, and she chooses what she wants to go back to school for. She's made straight A's.
That's the thing too. Is when you're 18, you don't know what you want to do.
No, you have
like,
no clue.
When I was 18, I was like, oh, I want the college experience. I want to go to the parties and do the frat thing. And it's like, a bunch of my friends didn't go to college. They went all the same parties I did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just spent all that money for no reason.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know, man. I mean, I think we all like to buy into the stereotypes or buy into like the maybe not stereotypes. Maybe that's not the right word, but buy into like the thing that you imagine exists. Even like if you were to, like with your comedy, if you were to start saying, oh, you know what? I heard Duncan Trussell's story. He told me a story of starting off at the call taker at the Comedy Store, and he met all these guys. That's the way you do it. I got to move to L.A., and I've got to follow his path, you know?
There's no blueprint.
There's no blueprint. Do it your own way, you know? Like, find your own way, and it might lead you. You might think that you want to do comedy now, and in 10, 15 years, it might have led you down a different path where you find a different passion that's maybe in the same vein, maybe a different vein.
Yeah,
you never
absolutely.
know, you know?
I was listening to Joey Diaz, and he said, going through Texas will make you a savage. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm already in the right state. Let's get it.
That's the truth, man. Like, that was part of the reason I wanted it to be the Panhandle Primate, because there's a certain amount of savagery just necessary to live in Amarillo. And I think a lot of people see it as I've been on this like kick recently of questioning, is it a flaw or is it a feature? So anytime I'm uncomfortable, or anytime anytime I'm like, oh, the political system is so flawed. It's like, well, is it a flaw or is it a feature? Is this something that is bad that our political system does, or is it something that maybe is good? Like, we just can't see the good of it. And like the wind in Amarillo, I was working the day of the big storm, the big windstorm, where, you know, I mean, like literally leaning backwards into the wind, and it's sustained like 60 mile an hour wind, like holding me up, you know, complete trust, like in the wind that it's going to continue to blow at 60 miles an hour. And it was like kind of one of those things, like at the end of that day, I was not upset that I had experienced that. You know, at the end of the day, it was like, that is badass. You know,
for the most part, we handled it pretty well. It was like, oh, it's a windy day,
dude. It's another day. It's another day in Amarillo, Texas. Like
it was a little windy.
Yeah, it was a little windy. I mean, it was like, it's not that different. You know, like it's always windy. It's always like, I feel like I had some friends that moved here from San Marcos, and their lips were chapped for like 4 months straight.
Oh, dude,
they were parched all the time.
If you leave for a while and come back, you're like, what the hell?
Oh, this is like literally a godforsaken chunk of the country. But the thing was, I'm standing right next to them. I'm completely comfortable. It's like, oh no, this is actually a pretty nice day. But their lips are chapped, their skin's burnt.
Yeah, their nose is running.
I mean, they're just fucked up. Like, the weather has fucked them up. And it's like, to me, it's kind of a similar thing with like putting yourself in a difficult situation, like running or jiu-jitsu or any of these things, right? You set your zero. Where are you going to set your zero? Where are you going to set your comfort level, right? Is it at literally perfect, like 70 degrees? That's where I go to vacation. I go to vacation in perfect places. You know, like I want to live in a place that demands a little bit more from me than being a wuss.
You need challenges in your life.
Yeah. And what better challenge than the wind, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's why people die when they retire, because they have nothing. They're just laying on the beach all day. Like, your ambition's gone. You have nothing to work for.
Yep. You feel like you've hit the finish line, and then your biology says, lights out. You know, you're done. You got nothing to do, nothing to push for. So, that's one of the things I like about Amarillo is the adversity of just living here.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Especially in the comedy world. Like, nobody wants to hear what you have to say. We're at the bar to drink. Shut up, comedian. And I'm like, okay, cool. Just
But if you
let me see if I can work this crowd.
If you can make them laugh,
yeah.
then you go to a place of weaker individuals who aren't there just to get fucked up because they hate their life.
People who want to see you.
Yeah. Then you're gonna really be able to kill them. You know, it's gonna be like child's play. You know.
Absolutely. Because there's been definitely some hard times, but it feels so good when those guys at the bar turn around and like, what's going on over there? You know?
Yeah. You kind of get it.
Funny.
You kind of get that. That's the thing, man. Is see, even at the fire department, there's guys that laugh all the time, and then there's guys that hardly ever laugh.
Yeah.
There's guys that, and those are the ones. If you can get the guys that don't ever laughing, you know it was actually something funny. You know it was actually, or I mean, and this is kind of like a weird way of equating it, but like we go on really gross calls, and if you get the guy gagging, like that's the thing is like it's kind of a badge of honor to not gag on calls.
Wait, gagging from
like from just the grossness of something.
Of the phone call?
No, of like like being in somebody's zone of smell.
So you're saying like if not a fire, but like someone's like
no medical calls, like or medical calls, or like there's just different
like
situations.
Someone shit their pants in a car wreck or something.
No, that's actually pretty tame. Like shooting yourself in the like. I mean, I'm talking, dude. Like there have been times where like we're in the back of the ambulance. And it's actually like one of those things, like at the end of it, if like the medic gags, like that's how you describe the smell. You're like to other firemen, you know, you're like, they were gagging. It's like, oh, damn, that was bad. You know, like then you know it was bad because we never gag, you know, we've been around it, we've seen it, it's not that big of a deal. So it's kind of the same thing. Like it's how you can judge like the rank of funniness or grossness or all these different things is if the people who never do it are doing it. You know?
Oh, okay. I get you. Makes sense.
That was maybe a little bit of a tangent, but yeah.
The rank of the rankness.
Don't gag if you're going to go into emergency services. If you do gag, find a different job.
Yeah, I mean, everyone in my family's in the medical field, and I've stayed as far away from that as possible. I don't even like watching Scrubs because I feel like I can smell the hospital. I hate the way hospitals smell.
Oh, yeah, dude. They're getting better, though. I actually met a dude down in South Texas, and he was selling selling shoe boxes. And what they did was they could pump out any smell that they wanted into the air. So he said he was actually down there in South Texas because there's a bunch of retirement homes down there, and he was trying to go to the retirement homes and peddle it and say, like, hey, look, you can make the place smell like lavender.
It smells like your grandkids.
Yeah, you can make the place smell beautiful, right? He said his number one...
Is it like a literal shoebox?
It's the size of a shoebox.
Oh, okay.
It's not a literal shoebox.
And it just sprays
out.
out?
Yeah, it just, like, does these little poofs, you know, like, you know? Well, he said his number one, client is stadiums. And they, you know what the smell that they put out is? Think about the stadium.
Cotton candy?
They might do cotton candy sometimes, yeah. But the one he told me is popcorn. He said over every door, they would set up one of these little boxes, and they would just squirt the smell of popcorn into the air.
That's interesting.
Because it's the highest markup. So the stadium wants people buying popcorn over anything else because it's the highest markup.
That's like that when you hear a certain noise, it triggers something in your brain.
Yeah,
That saying, I forgot what that...
Subliminal message, maybe? No.
It's like some sort of study.
Yeah.
Some sort of, like,
Pavlov's
experiment.
dogs was the experiment where he rang the bell and he caused the salivation of the dog's mouth. But I can't remember what the name of that term is, but...
I think Pavlov's in it. We got it.
yeah, it's pretty close. You can Google that shit if you're really, really wondering.
That's cool, though. That's the thing, though, is, like, I feel like I've been programmed to, like, so when I hear, like, Mexican music, I'm like, oh, I need some tortillas.
Oh, yeah. Tortillas, you know.
It's making me hungry.
Yeah, I need some enchiladas. Some of that rice, dude. The rice is delicious.
That's funny.
But, yeah, man. It's, I don't know what got us talking about that. Where were we at?
I don't know. We've been going off on random things. I was going to ask, the name tag you have on, what is that?
Oh shit, dude!
That's the thing you do.
So I told you I had an interesting story while I was late today, right? I told you 7:00, then I told you 7:15. I ended up arriving at 7:21 or 7:24, somewhere in that range. It's feeling bad. I hate being late.
Oh, you're good.
But so have you heard of the Refugee Language Project?
I have not.
Okay, so it's this dude named Ryan Pennington. He's a linguist here in Amarillo, and he's a badass dude. I can't wait to have him on the podcast. He went on Hey Amarillo's podcast with Jason Boyette. He has an episode.
I haven't listened to those episodes yet, but I see it on Facebook sometimes.
Yeah, it's good, man. I mean, it's a different style of podcast than this, and then my podcast. It's not so much conversation based as much as like question based. I mean, it's a data mine for sure. But he went on that. It's a good episode. If you're interested in Ryan, check that out.
What was the last name?
Ryan Pennington.
Ryan Pennington. All right.
But he runs the Refugee Language Project, and anybody in or around the Amarillo area who's interested in like meeting with refugees, like so the point of the Refugee Language Project is it's linguistic based language teaching, and what that means is you can actually teach a language better than somebody who is taught in grammar and all this stuff, because the way that you absorb a language best is just by speaking it. So they just need volunteers to show up just to speak, just to talk.
Really?
So like it's called table. It's
just
called table talk. They give you flashcards.
Just in English?
Yeah. No, yeah, you don't have to speak any other language. Actually, preferably you don't speak the language that person speaks, because that forces them to use English. So they like give you little note cards, and it has like random questions on it, like, what do you like to eat? Where are you from? Like, what do you do for work, and different stuff. And so anyway, my wife is going to school for linguistics. That's what she's going to get her master's.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, hopefully eventually her doctorate in. She's actually taking online classes at Texas Tech right now.
What can you do with a linguist degree?
Oh, dude, that's a like anything. I mean, really, like one of the biggest fields that's like exploding for linguistics is computer learning, because it's so what you do naturally, like listening to me talk, what you do naturally is $1 billion industry for Silicon Valley. They're trying to figure out how to make a machine hear the way you hear and process information rapidly. And also like the lexicon shifts and shit. And like my wife, if she listens to this, she's going to say, Dexter, shut up talking about linguistics, because I'm literally a moron. But she's taking like a semantics class, and she's a nerd. She is a language nerd. Like, she diagrams sentences as people are talking about them. Like there's like, you can break sentences down into like trees, like language trees. It's super interesting. If you're a writer, you need to learn that shit, because it's super interesting. It's how you write dialogue.
How many languages does she know?
You don't have to know any other language. So this dude named Noam Chomsky, have you heard of him?
Yeah, Noam Chomsky.
So he revolutionized the field, which it's really interesting that it's a relatively like new revelation in linguistics. I mean, Noam Chomsky's still alive, and he's the one that like revolutionized the field. But he basically realized that there's a universal language. So every language follows the exact same grammatical rules. Every language. So you know what a pidgin language is?
Is it what pigeons speak in?
Sometimes. That is a pidgin language. I mean, that is a form of... But, so, like you get an Irishman, right? Or no, that's a terrible example. Let's use a Somali. Let's use a Somalian. They move from Africa, only speaking their native tongue, to America. And then they have kids, right? So their kids come out, and their kids start learning English, but they're also learning Somali. So then they speak in this like weird mashed up language, where like they might use terms that are English and terms that are Somali. Now, if you take that group of kids and you analyze that language that they invent, literally, it's a language, a mashup of two languages that are invented. They follow the exact same rules within one generation as an established language. And the human brain naturally does that.
That's
the
insane.
Human brain naturally starts breaking apart things and putting them into certain places, and that's how the brain absorbs language. So like that's kind of what linguistics like. So a linguist doesn't have to speak any other language to understand all languages. And so like they could understand a language based off of its grammatical like composition easier, or without even speaking the language. Like they could, and
that's extremely interesting.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And like Shannon really is the one, or actually probably Ryan Pennington's the one to talk about it. But there's also a guy at WT named Dr. Jacobson. I can't remember his first name, but he's the linguistics professor at WT. And so there's a ton of people that are far more knowledgeable than like the little. I probably said things incorrectly as I was like explaining it right there, but it's the range of jobs that are in, like everything needs a linguist. Like movie sets, like if you're talking in different languages or doing different time periods, they need a linguist there, because the linguist can study the syntax of the language at that time and make sure people are saying things correctly.
That's
Did
amazing.
you see?
It's like reading music.
Yeah, it's exactly like reading music. Did you see Inglourious Bastards?
Yeah, it's a great movie.
You know the scene when they're down in the bar and he holds up the 3, or do you remember that? I
think so.
When they all get shot, he realizes he's not a German because it's something super subtle that you do naturally if you're a German that you wouldn't know if you're not a German. That's kind of how linguistics is. Like linguists can listen to a language and tell if it's a natural speak or if somebody's trying to copy it. You know, even like dialects and shit. What got us talking about that? Oh, Ryan
Your
Pennington.
name tag.
My name tag. So we've been going to the Refugee Language Project for a few months. Shannon's doing it. Number one, we're doing it because it's a great volunteer opportunity, and we both believe in like breaking down barriers. And one of the ways is by exposing ourselves to alternate cultures, as well as exposing alternate cultures to us, because they can't necessarily accept us until they meet us. It's the same.
Is it mostly like
Somalians,
okay.
Burmese? There is a ton of different ethnicities. Like, dude, Eastridge has 26 different languages spoken in it.
Really?
Elementary school, 26 different languages. So I mean, Amarillo is a huge hub for refugees. So
I've seen that. It's because of the Catholic.
Yeah, Catholic Family
thing.
Services.
Okay, yeah.
Is the man, and Tyson brings, because they need a lot of air quotes low-skilled laborers, you know. But that's part of the point of the Refugee Language Project, is let's give them a command of English. That way they can integrate into our society and start having, give them an opportunity at a wider range of jobs. Because the thing is that they're as talented as any human, right? And so let's give them the opportunity to share their talents with us, so that we can benefit of it. Anyway, so Shannon we started going to the Refugee Language Project mostly because she's interested in linguistics, and it's run by a linguist, and it's a great opportunity for her to get some experience in a field that she, wants to eventually go into. And so they had this this mosque right off of the Fritch Highway just bought a building that was right next door to them. And they're kind of expanding their community, their building, like they're just acquired this new building. So they were having an opening like ceremony kind of thing where they wanted the community to come, whether you were Muslim or whatever.
Yeah.
They wanted it to be a bridge for the community.
Yeah, more people need to experience that.
Oh yeah, dude.
Because they're afraid of what they don't understand. And like they see a mosque, they're like, oh, there's terrorists in there. Like, no, you just don't. You just watch the news and you don't know what's happening. Yeah, and I mean they're beautiful people in there and super welcoming, super friendly. They gave us food, Really?
like and it's delicious food.
Is it like parents and kids together?
Oh yeah, dude,
Okay.
it was a madhouse, man. Everybody was in there. It's like, and it was awesome to see because like. So I went to church this morning at my church, and it's like kind of it's not. I don't go to a charismatic church or anything, and it's a very subdued experience, right? It's very polite. It's very let's all observe this, together.
Nobody get crazy.
Yeah, everybody's keeping it. Well, dude, these kids are going crazy, and like the whole time, like the guys and the parents were all like, shut up, shut up, like trying to keep the kids quiet because but it was alive. Like the room was alive.
That's a great feeling.
It was a great feeling. It was energizing. It was a beautiful thing. And like their smiles, people are laughing. I mean, it was a beautiful experience. So anyway, they did this opening thing and it was from 6 to 7. That's why I pushed the podcast back to 7:15.
Good reason.
Was to give myself time to get from there to here. So like literally I like got in the car. That's when I texted you, hey, I'm on my way. And then I was driving straight here from there, So so I went there and it was actually kind of weird because I went there just as a participant, like just to hang out and meet some people and have a good time. And well, it was like a commensurary like event. So like the police chief was there, the mayor was there, Ryan Pennington was there, the district attorney was there, a representative from Representative Thornberry's office was there.
Wow.
And then so we're all sitting there and they're inviting all these people up on the stage and then they say and is there anybody from the fire department here to be a representative for the fire department? I'm sitting there like, ooh, and everybody kind of looks around. And one of the dudes a couple seats down from the Refugee Language Project that I've like met and talked to like multiple times, he's like, oh, he's a fireman right here, and I'm kind of like, I'm kind of raising my hand, but like kind of hoping that they don't see me. And dude, I'm like, they're all in suits and shit. Like the police chief is like in full uniform, and I'm like, I go up on stage, like just wearing street clothes, and I felt kind of bad about that because it was like, man, I don't want these people to get the wrong impression. Like I'm not taking this thing serious. I just didn't know I was going to be a representative for anything.
I feel like no one really expects a fireman to wear a suit. You know what I mean?
I don't know, dude. Like it's gotten a lot more serious in the past few years. We had to wear polos and shit now.
Really?
Like if we got to the grocery store or something, like we used to just be able to wear like our like the fire department shirt that says fire on.
Purple.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh, that's a different conversation for a different person right there, man. But it is kind of like one of those things. Like, so I got up on stage even, and like I got on the mic tonight. Like they had me actually say a few words and stuff, and powerful experience. It was really fun. I didn't expect to get up on stage. That's why I was saying it's like a little bit of a crazy.
That's interesting. Like, what was they were just saying like how their individual departments are trying to help out,
trying to engage. Yeah, I mean, it started off with the mayor giving a speech, and like, and then the thing was like Ryan Pennington's kind of a badass in bridging cultures, and one of the things that he does like really well is he reads their stories. So what are like some of the what is the right word for this? Like the I can't think, like a parable. Like he reads all their parables. And so like the way he starts off like the Refugee Language Project is he starts with some like right now it's Somalis. He did one semester of Burmese, like it was Burmese centered, and then this one's Somali centered, and he's just kind of moving from community to community trying to bring all of the refugees in. But he starts by reading a proverb, one of their proverbs, and kind of explaining it in English because they know it in Somali, so they're kind of learning English. And then he introduces an American proverb that is like along the same lines.
Wow.
So it's super interesting because you get to see how you get to understand why the communities butt up against each other sometimes, and why they could integrate really well. Like the Somali community is very capitalistic in like almost every way. They're very entrepreneurially based, so they fit in perfectly in America. Just like a lot of immigrants do. A lot of immigrants are like, I'm here to stack up some cake, dude. I'm here to provide a better life for my kids. Like that's primarily why they make a move. It's not because they want an easier life.
It's because they don't have the same opportunities.
Yeah, they're saying, give me work.
Yeah,
I want to work my ass off. That way that my kids can go to Mars. Maybe not Mars. They might not be thinking Mars, but that's probably where their kids are going to be going.
Yeah.
But so that's what I was doing like right before I came here and I did want to give a big shout out to the Refugee Language Project just because there's so much talk in our world, right? Let's not build a wall, right? Let's let immigrants in and let's do all this stuff. And it's like, dude, there's a huge immigrant community in Amarillo. So if you're passionate about not building a wall if you're anti-Trump, saying not build a wall, you better show your ass up at the Refugee Language Project.
That's an excellent
you
point.
know, like that's the thing is,
point.
you have an opportunity to do more than talk, and that's in every aspect of life. You have an opportunity to do more than talk in everything, and I think that's probably the thing that the social media has robbed from us the most is the opportunity to say, talk is cheap, motherfucker. You know, like that's the truth. Like do it, and then you can say whatever you want to say. Like I shook the mayor's hand tonight.
Yeah.
You know, she said, "Good job, Dexter." Right? I did not intend to put myself in a position there, but now I've talked to some of the people that are elevated in stature. She's pretty down to earth. You know, she's a pretty cool person. It's not a big deal to shake her hand or whatever. She shakes a lot of hands or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, if you act, it actually puts you in a position to where you can make a substantial and long-lasting change. And then more so than talking, more so than reposting some shit on Facebook. That doesn't matter as much.
And now your opinion has value to it. It has weight because you got your hands dirty.
A little bit more weight, and you meet people. You know, I don't know if I don't know if it was Elias or Elias. But standing in line to get in, met this dude, super nice guy. He was in Kenya for 8 years before he came to America. He's been in America for 3 years. I have a face. If you tell me about a refugee or you tell me about an immigrant, I have a face to put with that. Multiple faces, right? And that's way more powerful. So like whenever I'm paying a lot more attention to what does it take to become a citizen? What does it take to get deported? What does it take to all of these different things?
Takes a lot.
Yeah, because now I see these people that are literally going to language classes. Like some of those women at the Refugee Language Project cook 3 meals a day for 10 plus people, plus language classes, plus lining out all of them. You got to think those 10 people, it's the mom for 10 people. You know, she's crushing it. And she's doing language classes. Yeah. And she's showing up Thursday night for language classes. And she's doing everything she can, right? And then I like look at myself and it's like, dude, everything's been given to me. My language was given to me. My culture was given to me. My work ethic, all these things, they were all given to me. I didn't do anything to earn them. And then you see these people who are doing everything to earn it, you know?
They left where they were comfortable.
They left where they were comfortable to be in a place where actually a lot of people don't like them. You know, that's the weird thing about, like, especially 9/11 and all that shit.
Hopefully they don't have Facebook.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't. Oh, because they'll ruin
so
them.
they don't got to see that shit.
Yeah, so they don't have to see that shit.
But yeah, I see those memes all the time where it's like, why are we helping them and instead of helping our veterans? Like, why can't we help both? Why is there a limit? Why do we have to help one and not the other?
And honestly, man, the thing is, like, what we can be doing to help our veterans is
no one's doing that either.
Yeah, no one's doing that, and a lot
they're just reposting shit.
Exactly, dude. Exactly, and that there are a lot of organizations and there are a lot of positions to help the veterans and to help the refugees and help all this stuff. But if they don't have volunteers putting their asses in them seats, they're not gonna get half the shit done that they could get done. That we could get done as a culture, you know?
How do we get more involved in the Refugee Project? Because I just heard about this today.
Yeah, so hit them up on Instagram. You can follow them on Instagram.
It's called The Refugee Project on Instagram?
The Refugee Language Project. You can follow... I think that's probably the best place on Instagram to get started. I think they got a link to, like, maybe the website. But they post a lot of stuff through that. And it's just, like, Thursday nights. And it's super cool, dude. Like, that's the thing is you want to broaden your horizons. You will broaden your horizons. You meet people from literally all over the world.
Yeah, why not?
It's so cool, dude. And the goal is to sit and talk with them. They give you flashcards.
I love doing that. That's why I have a podcast.
Yeah, if you need help like talking to them or like a topic to talk to them about, they give you a stack of flashcards. But you're just sitting there and they're just wanting to speak, you know? And there's Spanish speakers as well as what is it called? Farsi, I think. But
is that a language?
Yeah, there's a ton of different languages, and honestly, it's one of those things like it's integrating them into our society. Like that's what's beautiful about the Refugee Language Project is it's like a covert op, you know? Like it on the surface it is teaching them English.
Yeah.
That's the goal. But really what we're doing or what they're doing, really I can't even say me. I haven't gone a whole lot and I haven't participated as much as I'd like to, but what the goal is and what the opportunity is to really integrate them into the society and to take all these beautiful aspects of their culture, which is what America is it's the integration of all of these great cultures from around the world into like a little melting pot and into a stew, you know? So, yeah, that would be the best place, probably the Instagram.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. I mean, that's
beautiful.
That's important, you know, because on the world stage, we probably look like a bunch of like selfish fat bastards, you know. So it's good that we can have that channel to be like, hey, you know, there's good people here. We want to help. We want you to be, you know, with us.
Yep. And
that's awesome.
It's just a great opportunity, man, and that's, you know, for all of the faults that like church and organized religion and all these different things have, it's an opportunity to do something that is not going to do shit for you. Like that it's going to require more than you get. And through it requiring more than you get, it gives you something, which is like a strange dichotomy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's the beauty of like volunteering or like participating in a lot of these things, and you're dealing with human beings, you know, other human beings from what's crazy is like completely different genetic trees of the human story, you know? I mean, it's a beautiful thing, you know? It's just a beautiful clash. It's like a clash can be bad if it's between two cars, but if somebody's hitting like a cymbal, it's beautiful, you know? So it's kind of that's what it even felt like in that. I don't think that we were in the mosque. I think the mosque was next door and we were in like they bought this to be like more of like an event center. But that's what it felt like, is it felt like a crash, you know, in like a good way, you know? Like a collision. So, but
that's awesome.
I don't know.
We need more culture.
How far are we into this thing? What time?
We are at 1:15. You want to take a break?
I gotta pee.
Okay, I gotta pee as well.
I got like a little boy bladder.
We'll do it. We'll do a quick
I guess
pause.
I got an old man bladder. But I think really what happens is we like, in numbers, we can solve a lot of the world's problems. But whenever it's left to like a very narrow group of people with a very narrow philosophy, it's not as creative in coming up with solutions. You know, you got to have a lot of different angles to come up with like a really well-rounded solution.
That's very true. And I think we kind of just expect that from the church, you know? Yeah.
That's the thing, man, is even in church, like large portions of the work are done by very few people. Like, so the church does however much. There's a song. Are you aware of the band Acapella?
I'm not.
I grew up Church of Christ, so there's a band called Acapella.
No instruments?
No instruments. They all sing these songs.
Is it like 4 or 5 guys?
Well, it's the group has evolved over the years. So there's been like tons of different members throughout the years. They've actually played at Central, which is the church I go to. They've played there multiple times. I've seen them play, but they have different incantations.
I like that word. I don't know what it means.
I think different members, different formations of the group travel around. But they have a song, and the line in it is, everybody said that somebody should do the one thing that nobody does.
Oh, that's so true.
You know? And it's so like you have all these people that are saying, oh, somebody needs to do this. Oh, somebody needs to do this. Oh, but nobody does it, you know?
That's the thing, too, is like when we talk about the government, we're just totally throwing the responsibility on someone else. Like, we as a community can do this. You
Dude,
know
that's
what I mean?
what Shannon and I were just talking about.
The government is us. We are the government. And we're sitting there. The government needs to fix all this shit.
Well, the thing is, man, I want to leave less to the government. Let's take more of it and take it into the power of our hands.
Absolutely.
And say, we're going to do this. Like, government, you fix our streets. You give us clean water. And, man, even education. Like, we could do that shit better. Like,
definitely.
And without, you get away from the bureaucracy, you know, and stuff. And so it's kind of one of those things like the city or the national government is slotted to do very narrow things. That's why our forefathers That's
we
what
lost.
they said.
We lost that mindset.
Yeah. The immigrant mindset. As
Exactly.
Joey Diaz would say. Like,
Immigrant
I'm going to do that
mindset,
shit.
cocksucker.
Yeah, I'm going to do that shit myself. You know? But,
That's what it is, man. And it's history repeats itself. These immigrants we're all afraid of. They're literally doing what are they called? The Pilgrims. Mm-hmm. Literally doing the same thing.
Except the genocide. Mm-hmm. They're doing it, except they are not.
Yeah, except they're
killing
not.
millions and millions of people. Do you know what they call the expansion or the like settlement of America in other parts of the world?
El Diablo.
They call it the American Holocaust.
Damn.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
I didn't know that, but that's what they refer to it as.
That's interesting.
The American Holocaust, because whenever we like expanded out west and we were like the Indians were putting up a little bit of a fight, but we beat them pretty easily. You know why?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I mean,
there's only
measles.
There was only 5% of their population left by the time we started expanding.
Oh, that sucks.
West, because they had all been wiped out by
Manifest Destiny.
Well, I think it was mostly smallpox.
Smallpox.
Actually. Yeah, that this fucking Spaniards brought over and killed a bunch of them and wiped them out. And hey, do you know who Graham Hancock is?
Yeah, actually, I just listened to a podcast.
Yeah,
with him.
Joe Rogan's podcast. Yeah. So I love Graham Hancock.
That was super cool.
Oh, dude,
when he was talking about ancient civilizations,
dope, dude. Yeah, and how he talked
people 70,000 years ago. I'm just like, holy shit.
Oh, dude, it's crazy shit, man, and it will change the way that we view the world. But yeah, he just wrote that new book, America Before, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, I need to read. There's so many books on my list.
Oh, yeah. You'll never get to them all. That's the thing is, like, there's so many brilliant books already written, and there's so many new books already being written, like, constantly, so.
So many, man.
Dude, I'm amazed at your notes, man.
Why is that? Because
it's so, like, sparse.
Yeah, I mean, I write it down like I do, like my, my set list.
I actually think that might be... That's a far more efficient way than I do, because like what I do is like I write down like the topic and then the sub question and then the points underneath the sub question, and it ends up.
That actually helps, because now I'm like, what does that mean? It's just one word.
But that's the thing, dude, is it's either one word or it's a whole list of words, and you're like I say that's probably 90%. Well, I don't know, 90% of the time.
It's just it's got to be a spark word for me.
Yeah. You hope it takes you back to where you were when you were thinking about it the original time.
Sometimes it doesn't. You're just like, why did I write that shit down? Is
that how it works with your jokes as well sometimes?
Sometimes,
like, you're like, shit. Where was I going?
When I have a new joke and I'm just like saying things out of order, it's like, that was bad.
It's hilarious, man. It's nice being on this side of the mic.
It's cool. You know? This is your first one to guest on, right?
Yeah, this is my first ever podcast guest.
Yeah, hopefully we can cross some fans over.
Yeah, I think it's definitely so. I feel like all of my fans are like looking for something more. They're like, we're subscribing to Dexter right now, but that's just because we haven't found a better podcast to subscribe to.
But you you do iTunes.
Yeah, that's the only one that I've ever actually set up.
Really?
Is iTunes.
And you have WordPress. But is that what it's called? Squarespace. Mm-hmm. Do you have any way to track the numbers there? Can you tell what kind of response you're getting? Because I know you said...
I can see RSS subscribers.
Because you said you had 5 guys come out to your... to the run. So is it like...
And so the 5 guys that showed up to my run are like friends I text messaged.
Okay, so it wasn't from the...
Yeah, I'm not... That's the thing, man, is I get a lot of feedback of people that say, hey, I listened to this episode, or hey, I listened to that episode. But more what it is like, I don't think that my intros are a very effective way of me disseminating information. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, I think, like I've had people come up and they'll tell me of a specific moment in the podcast, and they'll say, oh man, this was hilarious when this happened. Or, oh, I really enjoyed your thought at this moment, right? They're like very specific. But then like I've plugged the Refugee Language Project on my podcast a bunch in the intro. I don't think anybody showed up to the Refugee Language Project from my plugs in the intro, So I don't know, man. I kind of wonder if people feel like they're being advertised to. And since people are advertised to so much in this world that they just like shut off like a wall, I don't know.
My thing is with podcasts, and not just yours, just pretty much every podcast I listen to, it's like, oh, there's going to be 5 minutes of an intro. Skip.
Oh, no. I mean, I do the same thing. Like Joe Rogan's podcast, I skip at least 7 minutes.
Yeah, every
into
time.
the podcast. And then if I'm in the interview, then I rewind back until I hear Joe Rogan. You know, like the intro music. And so I mean, I do the same thing. And I mean, a lot of the times, like those intros, especially in the Joe Rogan podcast, I feel like that could be the most impactful moment, like, or the impactful information towards your life, because it's giving you supplements, it's giving you discounts, it's giving you all these different things.
Great
right?
companies
and
found
he's
on
pitching
podcasts.
shit that's helping him out, and he's an old dude now, you know. So it's like, if it's helping him to be more productive and to feel better, if you're a younger guy and you start integrating that stuff at 30 instead of him integrating it in his late 40s, like, how much better are you going to feel when you hit 50?
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
So, I don't know, man. It's just like one of those things. I feel like, especially with billboards, that's been my biggest, like, thing that's been pissing me off lately is fucking billboards,
Just
dude.
regular billboards?
That is a form of rape. You know? And not to discount the rape.
Hashtag me too.
Like the real rape.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I'm not trying... If somebody's actually been sexually raped, I'm not trying to
Bill
lower,
Cosby billboards.
Yeah. I'm not trying to lower that, but the thing is, I don't get to choose what they're trying to sell me. So I might say, dude, I want a new car. Why do I want a new car? Is it because I actually need a new car? Is it because I actually want a new car? Or is it because I saw 50 fucking billboards that all had these brand new cars with the guys all ripped and shit with huge dicks trying to sell me a car? You know, it's like, come on, like they're hitting us in all, so back to the, is it a flaw or is it a feature? Right? As human beings, we're attracted to attractive things. So what advertising does is it says, hey, let's put the shit we want to sell with all these attractive things.
Yeah, the Carl's Jr. commercials.
Exactly.
It's a lady in a bikini who's never ate a burger in her life.
Yeah. You think that bitch is eating a burger? No. That bitch is she's keto or something, you know? I mean, she's like...
She eats once a week.
She's super strict with her diet. And not only is she super strict with her diet, but she's working out like a fucking maniac.
Yeah, if she takes a bite of that burger, she's spitting it up.
Oh, guaranteed, or throwing it up, one of the two. But dude, that's the thing, is in the Texas Panhandle, one of the things that we have that's more beautiful than anywhere else in the world is the sky, the sunsets, the sunrises. And there's so many times that I've snapped, and like on Instagram, I don't put them on my board anymore. I just put them on my story. But like, I'll be in front of or behind the station, you know, sun's rising. I'll look over. It's beautiful, right? I mean, it's just these gorgeous shimmering colors that more vibrant than I could ever imagine. And I go to snap the picture, and what do I have? I've got fucking billboards. I've got power lines. I've got flags. I've got all of this shit, right? That is like, in order for me to absorb nature, I have to look through this lens, you know? And I think, like, not to get too religious, I won't ever get too religious, but like the line where, you know, it's like you're born into a world of sin. You know, a lot of people say that's a tainting on the human species. But I actually think what it is you're being born into a bunch of douchebags trying to sell you shit. And that's what it's saying. Like, you're born into a world of sin because all these people are going to... I love... One of the things I love about rap songs, or rap culture, rap music, is they talk about the old G's or whatever... in like teaching them, right? Hey, you know how you make money? You sell crack, you buy guns, you do all this different shit, you know? And then you got profound rappers that are saying that's not the way you do shit, right? You do that until you can get out of that shit, and then you pave a different way for your family. You think Jay-Z's kids are selling crack?
Nope.
Fuck no. They're going to a private school, dude. They got nannies and shit, you know? Like, that's the thing, is you want out of that life, so stop trying to sell that life to people, you know? And so, like, that's really what I think, the way that I interpret that text when it says that you're born into a world of sin. And the whole story of, like, Israel and everything is trying to build a society that doesn't fuck up the kids right off the bat. Yeah. You know, like, that's kind of what the goal is. That's what the rules are for. That's what the laws are for, is it's saying, hey, how about we don't fuck up the next generation and we let them live in a world of peace, you know? Yeah. And that's what I thought was beautiful about that Refugee Language Project, that event today, is I'm looking around the room. It's like, there's a shit ton of kids in this room, you know? What are these kids singing? These kids are seeing the people that they respect with these other people. You know, our police chief is black. Our mayor's a woman. You know, like, it's kind of like one of those things. Like, there was men, there was women speaking on the mic. There was different age groups. Yeah. There's different social classes.
That's awesome.
You know, it's like one of those things where it's like, really, can we break down some of the lies that we're telling to our kids without even knowing that? Like, part of it you have to be self-aware of the lies that you're telling or the lies that you believe, you know, to push through them. So, shit, I don't remember what got me on that, but anyway.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I was going to go off of what you were talking about. Being born in the world of sin. You brought up Israel. I don't know if you follow the Bible closely, but I was reading through it, and you notice, like, every time, like, God, like, redeems people, you know, he sends Noah and all this. A few years later, they fuck something up, and it goes back to, it's like, we might be good for 7 years, but then we're going to fuck it up again. And it's like, it's just a pattern of humans just continuing to go back to their old ways or their old habits.
Yeah, like Moses comes down off the mountain, and they've built a calf of gold.
Yeah.
And, like, one of the things that I've always questioned about that is, where the hell did they get the gold? They were supposed to be slaves fleeing Egypt.
Well, that's the thing.
They got enough gold to melt down to build a dang calf?
There was like 3 million people that had a bunch of stuff.
That's true. They did have a bunch of shit. But gold? They were slaves, dude. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, and to get slaves to, like, give up, like, their gold to build a calf, I mean, it's, like, kind of one of those, like, weird things. But, yeah, you're definitely right, man. There's so many parts in the Bible. And even, like, I think one of the most profound, we just came through Easter, and one of the most profound and baffling for a lot of people scenes in the Bible is where the Jesus is getting beat, you know, and they're killing him, and all of his disciples are like, I don't fucking know that guy.
Yeah.
I'm bailing on this dude, you know? Like, it's like in middle school whenever one of your friends is getting jumped. It's like, do you jump in or do you bail? You know, like, what's more important to you? And all of them bailed. All of them bailed, right? And they chose to write that shit in.
What's his name? Peter denied him 3 times.
Yeah. And they chose to write that in. The disciples are the ones that wrote the Bible. So instead of, like, writing themselves in and saying, like, well, 11 of them denied Jesus, but I didn't. I stayed by that dude. He was the Son of God. You know, they all denied Jesus, right? Yeah. They all bailed on him.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like one of the most profound parts of the whole Bible is like to realize that the guys that should have been the least likely to bail on him bailed on him. You know, I think that there's a certain amount of, like, grace offered in that verse for every other, like, everybody from then on out. It's like, hey, look, we're the guys that followed him for years. We saw all of his miracles. We were there, and we denied him.
Yeah.
So if you deny him, who gives a shit? You didn't see any of this stuff, you know?
It's getting rejected by the world that everyone's so afraid of. I mean, they all ended up getting beheaded. Yeah. So.
Yeah, they all martyred. So they had to have seen something, and that's a lot of people's argument for the validity of the scripture. That was one of the earliest validities, or, like, things that somebody told to me whenever I was a young kid, and I was like, okay, how do you believe all this shit, really? You know, like, how do you know that's true? And that was one of the earliest things told to me was like, hey, all these guys died for it. You're not going to die for something that didn't actually happen. It was kind of like the justification.
Most of the time. Unless you join a cult and you drink some Kool-Aid.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is people die all the fucking time, dude. You're going to die for shit you don't believe in. You know? Yeah. Do you believe in that burger as you're eating it? It's clogging your arteries? No, but that's just going to kill you. You know? So I don't know, man. It's interesting because I would still consider myself a religious... Well, I wouldn't consider myself a religious person. Especially not in the same way that, like, a Muslim would consider themselves religious because... they pray and they observe all these laws and they follow all these rules, you know. I think the America in me, like, bred too much rebellious nature in me for me to be, like, super religious. But and a lot of times we try to, like, equate discipline to religion, and I think it's a lot different.
I just I'm not really concerned with religion as I am just, like, the Bible itself. Like, for that book to travel this far and still exist and still have validity, nothing in there is proven inaccurate. It's I think there's power in it, and that's just my personal opinion.
There's a lot of there's power in knowledge.
Yeah.
Period. And wisdom.
And there's a ton of knowledge in that thing.
A ton of knowledge
just
and a
in
ton of wisdom.
Just in the first book.
Yeah.
It's deep. There's so much depth to it.
Well, do you know of a guy? Well, I would almost bet you don't know of Michael Heiser. Have you ever heard that name?
I don't think so.
He has this podcast called the Naked Bible Podcast. Mm-hmm. And I fell into that. I'm not exactly sure. I was on down a rabbit hole on YouTube. And he was doing a talk about the Da Vinci Code. And so it was like Michael Heiser talks on the Da Vinci Code or something. Mm. And so I got into this guy, and he was a nerd, a huge nerd, biblical scholar, biblical languages. Oh, dude. And he starts talking, dude. He talked. I watched a 2.5 hour YouTube video, and all he talked about was the first verse of Genesis. 2.5 hours.
You're familiar with Jordan Peterson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He'll do a 2-hour lecture on a couple verses.
Yeah. It's some deep shit, and that's the biggest thing for me. The hardest thing for me is like when people say, "Oh, I believe in the Bible," and it's like, bitch, nobody knows the Bible.
Yeah.
You hear these guys who like literally have dedicated their entire life. They have PhDs, and they are saying, "Who the fuck knows?" You know, like they're throwing up like the question mark on it. You know, they're like there is still study needing to be done on this. I mean it's some deep shit.
It's the same with every aspect of your life. If you really want to if you want to be good at anything, you have to dive headfirst into it. And it's the same with the Bible. It's the same with religion. You got to go all the way in, or you're not going to get it.
It's true, man. And that's what's really wild is Islam, Christianity, and Judaism all meet at Abraham. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So from Abraham prior,
there's common threads there.
Is all the same.
And Abraham was the American dream.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, dude. That dude's
it's like that's the same thing we all do. You're comfortable here in your home place, but I need you to go. Mm-hmm. I need you to go make a better life.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It's cool, dude. And like, do you know who Richard Rohr is? Mm-mm. That's a dude you should read. He just put out a new book. I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet, but his last name is Rohr. Rohr. It's the Center of Contemplation located in like Albuquerque, but he's a Franciscan monk. So he's technically a Catholic, but dude's a badass, man. He's been on like the You Made It Weird podcast.
You Made It Weird.
Yeah,
I like that podcast.
He's been on the Liturgist podcast. He's been on a lot of stuff, and he's really cool. But he's changed the way I viewed like Christianity, but like more broadly. Mm-hmm. Like that's the thing. Like I don't like to narrow those concepts or those ideas to Christianity because we have connotations around Christianity. So there's a lot of people that I've met that they say they don't believe in Jesus, but really they just think that the people that have said the word Jesus were assholes. So now they're saying I don't believe in Jesus, but really it's you just don't like assholes.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting situation because I think as with a lot of things in our life, a lot of philosophies, a lot of modes of thinking, communism is one of them, socialism, all of these different concepts, they get associated with movements and people more so than viewed as philosophical concepts.
Yeah.
And used as such, you know? So it's kind of one of those things that's weird. Like, I almost don't want to write anything off, you know? Like, I hear like a Buddhist fucking monk, like, he'll go on Facebook Live or like Instagram, and I'll, like, it's like a live thing with a Buddhist monk.
And there's great things in Buddhism that we can take from.
Buddhism,
meditation,
Taoism.
And it's like, I think it's easy if you come from like a Christian background to be like, oh, Buddhism, that's of the devil. That's pagan. That's satanic. And it's like, it's not that different from what we do.
You know what else is pagan? Christmas.
Easter.
Like all these fucking things that we do. It's pagan, and not only is it pagan, but it's commercialistic materialism.
But I think,
fuck you up, dude.
I mean, from what I feel like, the older I get, the more I look into things, the more I realize is like, I'm just I've been brainwashed my whole life, and it's kind of like fading away. And it's like we can take things from each culture, we can take things from each religion, and we can piece this puzzle together. Like God isn't just a man with a beard in the sky. Like God is in animals, God is in the trees, God is in children. You know, like you can see. I think it's expansive. I don't think God can fit in a box. I think He's nature. I think it's everything around us.
Have you ever heard of Rupert Alpart? Oh no.
You're giving me great names though. What was?
No, that was not it. That was it. Well, Rupert Alpart ended up becoming Ram Dass, which is a different line that you can go down, which is pretty interesting. But Rupert Sheldrake, that's who it is.
Rupert Sheldrake.
He has this concept of morphic resonance, and he says that that the Earth creates enough power, electrical power by itself in the ionosphere to store all of human experience and history and memory and everything. If you were to convert it to like hard drive, it creates enough power every moment to store that.
The Earth itself?
The Earth itself.
Just from like its rotation or something?
Like the fucking iron core spinning, it's a dynamo, like the same reason that we have so the reason that life exists on Earth is because we have an ionosphere, which is breaking the radiation from the sun.
What? So it's like essentially the Earth is like a computer with
like a
storage.
Dynamo. It is. That's what his concept is. He has this concept of morphic resonance, which is like saying basically all human experience and thought and consciousness exists. It manifests. It's conducted into like a being, into like us, but it actually exists above us and below us, and in this like machine, which is a planet, which is like so consciousness is actually the result of a machine, and we're the nodes in the machine, like we're the gears, the cogs, mechanized existence kind of thing. But see, he has all these experiments he's done between pets and owners. Have you ever the experiment he did was he had a camera set up at somebody's house, and he had the owner of the dog go away, and they just walked the owner around, and they had a camera running on both of them, and they sent a random page to a pager to the owner to tell him to go home. And they sent him home by a cab, so not in a way they normally arrive home, not a car. As soon as the pager goes off, the dog goes to the window and starts waiting for the owner to get home. So as soon as the owner started thinking, like, I'm going to go home, the dog felt it.
Really?
Away from him. Yeah, like, there's a YouTube video of it. If you, just type in, morphic resonance.
That's incredible.
It'll come up. But, Rupert Sheldrake, do you know who Terrence McKenna is?
Yes.
Okay, so Terrence McKenna.
One person I heard of.
And Rupert Sheldrake and one other dude, I can't even remember. The other guy, I never really looked into him too much. I probably should have. He looked like Jerry Garcia. But they used to do this, they did these, they had these ceremonies where they would sit together and basically have, intentional conversation. So this is way before podcasting and anything. They had video tapes of it, basically. But they would sit down saying, we are going to, Terrence McKenna's this psychonaut, and they're all coming at it from different directions, but they all have this feeling that there's
Joe Rogan talks about him with he does a water project or something like that.
The water project.
That's probably not the exact words, but he does it in the intros that I skip. And he's like, help out my friend Terrence McKenna. He's doing something in Africa.
No.
That's not him?
That one is a former UFC fighter.
Oh, well, I know he's mentioned Terrence McKenna.
Terrence McKenna died in 99.
Oh. I don't know why I know that name then.
So you don't know who Terrence McKenna? You probably know the name because you probably, he was a psychonaut. He was one of the, he used to do a whole lot of mushrooms. He wrote this book with his brother called The Brotherhood of the Abyss, or Brotherhood of the Screaming Abyss. And they went down to South America in search of ayahuasca. And this was they had tried LSD, but that's the, there was no psychedelics in North America, really.
Yeah.
Until LSD hit. And then all these hippies and college kids took LSD, and they're like, wow, Well, Terrence McKenna and his brother were like, hey, let's go down and look for psilocybin mushrooms.
I've definitely heard that name several times.
No. They were going down to South America or Central America to look for ayahuasca, because they had heard of ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
What they ended up finding was like these mushrooms, and they're described, like the head of the mushroom is described as like the size of a dinner plate, or some like these huge like psychedelic mushrooms, and like they went on this crazy ass trip, like days, and they thought they could manifest the Philosopher's Stone into reality. Dennis McKenna has been on the Joe Rogan podcast recently.
Yeah, I see that on Google.
Yeah, Dennis McKenna is still alive. That's his older brother. But when they were kids, they were being, they were just diving in and going crazy on all that stuff. And
ayahuasca. I've been wanting to try DMT.
Yeah, so ayahuasca is the Central American version of DMT, where you can drink it and you don't have to smoke it. But so they had gone down there for that. They ended up in the mushroom. So that's like one of their first books, and that's kind of how they got famous. But Terrence McKenna would do these like speaking engagements where he would speak for like 10 hours straight. Really? Oh, dude, the dude's knowledge is
Stoned
immense.
Ape Theory. Okay,
yeah,
so Joe Rogan brings him up a lot. That's why I know
Stoned Ape Theory. That's
okay.
He proposed the Stoned Ape Theory, saying that what caused the evolution of humanity from apes to Homo sapiens was the following around of these herds, and that the psilocybin mushrooms grow out of cow turds, and that these apes that had descended from the trees would follow these herds because they'd flip over the cow shit and there'd be bugs underneath them.
And then that's what led to them cooking their meat and
eating the mushroom. So his actual the theory was they've done experiments that doses of psilocybin actually increase the acuity of your vision. So what he was saying was that these apes were given an evolutionary advantage because they could see better, because they were basically eating this supplemented drug that increased their vision, so they were able to see predators, they were able to hunt better, that's what made them elevated. Yeah, he wasn't necessarily proposing that they had transcended a level of thought. He was more saying that there was a physiological response to the mushrooms. But
interesting.
Yeah, I went down a pretty hard Terrence McKenna road for about 3 years. I would send my friends little snippets of the talks and shit. I mean, I was like, because the thing is, when you start listening to him, he has a lot of outrageous shit that he says, but there's a lot of stuff that's very profound and
kind of like Alex Jones.
Kind of like Alex Jones in a lot of ways. I mean, yeah, but only more liberated than Alex Jones. Yeah. I think Alex Jones is slightly more. He wants I think he would advise people to take a safe path, whereas Terrence McKenna would say jump off the edge.
I like that.
You're gonna die. Maybe 90% of y'all are gonna die, but the 10% that don't die are gonna have some good shit that they can bring back to humanity. It's like I think Terrence would be a little bit more of like a reckless advisor.
I need to look into that.
He's cool, man. Terrence is cool, and there's a lot of cool shit. And that's the hard thing is then you start talking about reading books. It's like, where do you start? There's so many profound thinkers that we've had the privilege of being exposed to their work.
There's so many. I got Jordan Peterson's book. I got Aubrey Marcus. I started reading some Thomas Sowell, but I haven't finished any of them. I'm deep into all of them. I just got to make more time to do it.
Do you read them all at the same time?
Yeah.
That's how I am too. I'm reading Four Color Bleed, which is a local author named Ryan McSwain. And then I'm reading Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy.
Oh, he's a great author.
Fuck, dude, this book is intense.
He wrote No Country for Old Men, right? Okay, yeah. I love that book.
And The Road and all the Pretty Horses. He's regarded as one of the greatest authors ever. His books are in the greatest books of all time.
I like his style of writing because he didn't use commas.
No, or just quotations.
Because that's how I always did it. I was I'm just gonna play it safe and just use only periods because I don't know how to deal with that extra shit. Definitely respect that.
He's an intense dude, man. I imagine. I haven't ever met him, but You know, it's kind of crazy. Like, that's part of the reason I started the podcast, was to be able to talk to, like, elevated human beings, you know, or,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Try to eventually, I mean, I don't know if I'll ever make it to that level or not, where I'm like, I have the ability to, like Joe Rogan, like, that's the dream.
Yeah.
He can literally call anybody in the world and say, hey, would you like to be on my podcast?
Hopefully he has Kanye West on, man.
What happened to that, man? I thought that was already supposed to have happened. I was psyched, dude.
Yeah, he keeps talking about it. He keeps mentioning him. He's like, yeah, I talked to him on the phone. He might come on eventually. And it's like,
Kanye's probably super fucking busy, though.
I want to dig into Kanye's brain, man. That's like, to have Kanye sit down for a 3-hour conversation would be incredible.
Yeah, if you could get him calm. If you could get him in a... I almost feel like...
I know he's a genius. Like, people write him off, but that guy's smart.
Yeah.
He's definitely smart.
You almost need... I almost feel like the only way you could have a good conversation with him is with mics off.
Maybe so.
Because I feel like a guy like that is so...
He's very intense.
Well, you know how it is. Anytime you have the mic on, you have a certain persona on.
Yeah.
Like, you have a certain aspect of yourself that you're trying to project or show. And I feel like Kanye, you have to imagine he's like to the nth degree of that shit, you know? And so, yeah, he's definitely a genius. That's the thing, is anybody who is that famous is a genius. Like,
yeah. Or just that creative.
That creative. I mean, that's the...
Like
and
that,
to get people to follow you. Like, people diss on cult leaders, but shit, man. They're doing a lot of shit that like maybe a couple of churches in Amarillo have that big of a following, but...
Just the amount of stuff Kanye brought to hip-hop. Like, I don't know if you've listened to Kanye, but what's that album where he just went crazy with it? It was Yeezus.
Yeezus.
That was insane. Just the sounds he brought in is like nothing ever before.
Yeah,
sounds like that album.
I don't know if I've listened to a couple of songs off of that one, but really the last album that I listened to in its like entirety of him was My Beautiful Dark.
That one's incredible too.
Was it My Beautiful Dark Nightmare?
Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Yeah, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
So many adjectives.
Oh, dude, that album, like, I was too cool for Kanye at the time.
That's the thing, is like the people who are like, oh, Kanye's an idiot, Kanye's stupid. Like, you haven't.
I loved College Dropout.
You haven't listened to his music.
Yeah, I listened to the whole College Dropout album, and then I was too cool for Kanye.
I was too cool until I went on Spotify and I was like, I'm gonna listen to everything he's ever made, and I loved all of it.
Yeah, he's an amazing, and that's the thing is, you really got to remove your ego whenever you start analyzing music, because sometimes you might feel compelled to like something or compelled to dislike something based off of what is cool, what your ego wants to be cool, you know? But that's the thing, dude. You sit down with some Taylor Swift, and it's going to be, you're gonna nod your head, you know?
I love Florence and the Machine.
Florence and the Machine is,
I can listen to them
she's
all day.
Super amazing.
Yeah.
Like, well, the whole band is amazing, but her voice. Did you hear her on the Great Gatsby soundtrack? I can't quite remember the name of the song that she sings, but
an incredible voice.
Have you seen the movie Great Gatsby?
I think I watched.
With Leonardo DiCaprio.
I did watch it, but I didn't really pay close attention. I like the book a lot.
Yeah, dude. The book is better. Will always be better than the movie, but the movie, the newest one, dude. Jay-Z did the soundtrack to it.
Okay, yeah, I remember now, because Justin Timberlake was involved too, right?
Probably.
I think he was somewhere in there.
I'm sure, dude. Jay-Z, he can call up anybody in the world and say, hey, do you want to be on an album I'm doing? But it was amazing. Like, he had Andre 3000 from Outkast. He's on that.
One of my favorite rappers
alive. If you
alive.
haven't listened to the Great Gatsby soundtrack, you've got to listen to it, dude.
I'll go back and check it out.
It's fucking amazing, dude. The whole album is amazing. It has Lana Del Rey. That was the first song that I ever heard from Lana Del Rey. Was on
She's
that.
phenomenal.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. I mean, it's an amazing soundtrack. But what got us on Kanye? What were we talking? Oh, with Joe Rogan. Yeah, he can call up anybody in the world. You know? That's the dream, dude. That's the dream, right?
Absolutely.
With a podcast.
I was gonna say, having you on, I think is awesome.
Thanks,
I think
dude.
that's a bookmark. What do you call that? An obstacle overcame. A checkpoint.
A checkpoint. Yeah,
it's a step up.
Yeah, you're never going backwards.
Yeah, having you and Andy Justice on the same day, it's incredible.
Dude, well, thank you very much, man. That actually means a whole lot to me, because it's crazy. and I don't know if you've experienced this or not, is one of the things whenever I was thinking about coming on to this podcast that I was thinking of it today, is like, you know how there's so many moments, I'm sure you felt it, where you feel like a fucking loser. You know? You're like, what the fuck am I doing? What is the point?
Mm-hmm.
What am I, what am I being delusional? Am I putting myself on? Yeah. Like, you have all these moments, and like, there's the world, the universe gives you these gentle nudges of saying, don't believe that. Don't believe the haters.
You got to bury that.
Like, yeah, you've got to imagine that you're not a fucking loser.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is, you are a fucking loser.
Everybody's
a loser. We are meat sacks that literally have to shit and pee all the time. We get sick and we're gonna die, right? We're losers. We're all losers in the like long range of things. But you can't allow the fact that you are a loser to prevent you from doing things that could possibly make you a winner, you know?
Yeah, like that quote, like the people who think they can change the world are the people who are crazy enough to do it. Or I probably said that backwards, but that's the sentiment. It's like that didn't make sense to me as a kid, but the older I get, the more it makes sense. Like, because if you just believe that you can do it and you take steps towards doing it, you'll get it done.
Well, see, and this is what's beautiful, is you could have said, hey, I want to be a stand-up comedian. So you know what I need to do? I need to move to Dallas. I need to move to L.A. I need to move to New York, right? And then you get to New York or L.A. or Dallas, and you're just one of the million, or the 100 people that moved to L.A. that day to be stand-up comedians.
Yeah.
Instead, you say, you know what, I'm going to do it here.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it now. I'm going to be what I want to be today with the tools that are given to me.
Yeah.
And that will serve you in the long run. That will
Absolutely.
serve you way better in the long run than following somebody else's,
most of us are like, oh, I'd love to do that thing over there. That'd be so cool. That'd be so cool to do one day. I'd love to do that. I like what they're doing. One day I'm going to do that.
Yep.
And then, I actually have a job and I got kids.
Oh, yeah, I got all these excuses. I'm the king, dude. I'm the king. I could give you excuses. I could give you excuses to the West Coast and back if you wanted them.
Yeah.
And I mean, but the thing is, man, excuses get you literally nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
They like I used to say,
they just make you more resentful.
Oh yeah.
At the end of the day.
Oh yeah. It's like, man, if I lived up in Colorado, I'd be climbing V10. Like I'd be crushing. I'd be sponsored. I'd probably be winning the World Cup.
Like I've heard people say, like, oh man, if I was a celebrity, I'd be in great shape because then I could just hire someone. I could hire a dietitian and I could hire a trainer. I'd have the money to do that. It's like, just go on a diet then.
Yeah. Just don't fucking eat. Just don't fucking eat.
Buy chicken breast and broccoli and eat that for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Or, I mean, like, it's so funny, man. Like, I see all these, like, diet crazes, and nobody's saying just don't fucking eat.
Yeah. Move more, eat less.
Everybody's like, man, I'm going on this. I'm trying to get my body up in this metabolic rate. And
I can't afford to eat healthy.
It's like, don't fucking eat, dude.
Can't afford to eat salads every day.
Have you ever heard of the book called Born to Run?
No.
In that book, there's one of the coaches. He's an Olympic level coach, and he says that he advises all of his athletes to eat like they're poor.
Ramen,
eat beans, eat rice, eat
tortillas and cheese.
Yeah, stay away. He actually says stay away from meat. Like eat like you're poor. Eat when you look. And that's the thing is when people say, oh, man, I'm too poor to, it's like, dude, you know how much bag of beans is?
Yeah.
You know how long that shit will last?
You can get a big ass bag of rice for real cheap.
Oh, dude, huge bag of rice, and you'll never eat that shit by yourself. Maybe if you have like parties or like you're really into like some Asian fusion shit, you might. But it's kind of one of those things like I like to erase as many excuses as possible. So if my excuse for being out of shape is that I don't have enough time to work out, wake up early in the morning.
Yeah. Jocko, do you know Jocko Willink is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard him on Rogan. He's on Instagram every day at 4 a.m. taking a picture of his watch.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's intense.
I've just recently, on the days that I go to work, I get up at 5 and do a
Mm-hmm.
workout before I go to work.
I've been planning on doing that. I'm too lazy. I need to stop making excuses.
And you need to go to bed earlier.
That too.
That's I mean, more than anything else is if you go to bed, I'm trying to be in bed between 10 and 10:30.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is difficult with a 2-year-old. And like my wife's a maniac, dude. My wife pushes hard.
Mm-hmm.
And she stays up. She'll stay up till 11:30. She's pregnant, dude. She's growing a human being. And she's like working way harder than I am. But if I am in bed by 10:30, it's not that hard to get out of bed at 5.
That's fair.
Because you tip it, if you're drinking enough water, this is another thing. You gotta drink a lot of water.
Yeah, I've been trying to drink half my body weight in ounces.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So,
I've heard that before.
I tried. That's what someone told me to do. So like, all right.
Yeah.
So I drink like 115 ounces a day of
So
water.
if this will help you get out of bed. You gotta be careful with it. But if you right before bed, if you have like a Nalgene, I don't know, what is it, 750 milliliters?
Mm-hmm.
You just hammer half of it. Like you're sitting on your bed, hammer half of it because you're gonna have to get up to go piss.
Yeah. Oh,
So that will get you out of bed.
that's good.
So you wake up, your alarm goes
Yeah.
off, and you wake up and you're like, "Ooh, I really gotta piss," and my alarm went off, and I know I told myself I'm gonna get up, and I gotta piss anyway.
Yeah.
And then don't make it too hard. Like that's the thing. I've always done this. This is like my wife tells me all the time. She's like, "You set your okay, I'm gonna do this. So okay, I'm gonna get in shape. So I'm gonna run 10 miles a day, and I'm gonna do 300 push-ups, and I'm gonna do 400 sit-ups, and I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do all this stuff. You make it to where it's an insurmountable amount of work that you're gonna put in during the day. So the likelihood that you're not gonna do that shit is gonna go up, which means you're not gonna reach your goal that you said you're gonna reach, and it's easier to say, "Oh, I'm just not gonna reach my goal." So set it easy. Say, you know what? I'm gonna wake up in the morning. I'm gonna do 4 sets of 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, and 10 air squats. If I'm feeling good, I might do more.
That's the thing, though, is like from reading Aubrey Marcus's book. We talked about this last time. He just talked about when you get out of bed, get your heart rate up, go outside, get some sunlight. That's the best way to wake up. So yeah, roll out of bed, do 50 push-ups, go stand in the backyard for a few minutes, get your mind right.
Have you heard of power positions?
I haven't.
So like, they say if like before you go into an interview or something, I watched a TED Talk on it. Is like you make yourself really big. So like you
Like
stretch,
a bear's coming.
No, just like you just make yourself like you just fucking won something. Like everybody's clapping for you. So you stick your hands out as far as you can. You open up your chest. You raise your chin up like you're a fucking winner. And if you stand like that in a power position for like 5 minutes, they say it positively affects your attitude.
That makes sense.
To where you're better interviewed.
Yeah.
Like if you're about to go in to interview for a job or you're about to go do something, like you do this, it puts your different chemical state, and then you're a different person. Whenever you present yourself versus being all shriveled up and shit. And, you got your shoulders rolled.
That makes sense.
You're like looking down at your phone, and like right before you go into an interview, you're like, "Oh, dude, that motherfucker's killing it. Oh man, that guy's look at his abs, man. He's doing so good. Man, that chick's hot."
That's the thing.
You're tearing yourself down instead of like building yourself up.
Fix your posture. People are gonna respect you more.
Fix your posture, man. People don't like to think that what other people think affects them. But why the fuck do you wear clothes then?
Yeah.
Why the fuck do you get your hair cut? Why do you do all this stuff?
Why'd you buy that 4x4 truck?
Yeah. Yeah.
You ain't hauling nothing?
No. Other than like ass, like hauling ass all over the damn place. That drives me crazy, man. I hate whenever somebody blows by me.
That's
on
the
the
thing,
highway.
too. That's huge. Like when people say chin up, keep your chin up. It helps. Just a physical act.
It's an immigrant mindset. I mean, that goes back. It's like how you present yourself. Who are you? Who are you? I'm the person that my parents sacrificed and died, and all this. You have this. That's what's crazy, man. Is if you're a living being today, then your ancestor has been on the planet. An ancestor of you has been on the planet since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of existence on this planet.
They weren't the weakest link.
Right.
They survived.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can trace your lineage back. So, it's like, respect your lineage. They fucking lived. you can fucking live, you know?
And we're living in the greatest country in the world right now.
Easiest fucking time. Easiest fucking time, dude. That's why I think Bernie Sanders can suck my dick, dude. You know why?
That's the name of this podcast.
He's trying to. That's the thing, is he's trying to tell all these people that they need something from their government.
That's a big push with politics right now. Is like, we need to be like everyone else. No, the fuck we don't. That's how we got here. Mm-hmm. That's why we're number one right now, because we weren't like everyone else. Yeah.
It's because we
told the world to suck our dick, and they did.
And because you had an older generation telling you weren't shit growing up.
Yeah.
Motherfucker, you better get to work because you ain't shit right now, you know? Like, do something with your life. Like, push. Like, be a little bit better than I was, you know? Like, and I think also it's partially our fault as a generation, but it's partially the generation before us and the generation, they've gotten soft.
We're extremely lucky and blessed. We haven't had to go through war. Like, the biggest trauma we went through was 9/11, and we just saw that on the news, unless you live in New York.
Yeah, unless you were right there, you know.
And the 2008 recession, that was bad too, but I was a child.
I didn't fucking feel it.
Yeah,
in Amarillo, I didn't have, you know, like, that's the thing, is like, we've had these recessions and we've had all these things, and I've heard a large reason that Amarillo's like recession proof is because of Amarillo National Bank is one thing, but
and I'm sure Bell Helicopter and Pantex. But that's the thing, these microaggressions are popping up. People are getting mad at like comedians and actors and tweets. It's because we haven't had to suffer through anything. So it's like we have nothing to be upset about other than what's going on Twitter. And it's ridiculous. Like,
it's so goofy.
No one in World War II was like, oh, that joke's offensive. Because they were fighting people.
Dude,
they were trying to kill people. Like,
I know,
people were trying to murder us.
It's so crazy. Like, we live in such a different place and time and everything, and it's like, instead of us taking advantage of this, the safety and the love and like just all these things that exist in the world, we choose to like exacerbate all the bad things that we imagine are there, you know? It's kind of it's definitely a crazy time to be alive, and like, I don't know, man. It's like a lot of people are afraid, like they say, like, you know, they don't want to have kids, or they're scared for their kids and all this stuff. Oh, it's so
You're going to live scared your whole life?
Oh, well, dude, look around, dude. You know how in human history, there was a high likelihood that the dudes from the town next to you were going to come in, cut your head off, rape your women, kill your kids, and steal your livestock.
Yeah.
There was a high likelihood that was going to happen.
Imagine if our great-great-great-great-grandparents were like, oh, there's tigers over there. There's lions in this jungle. What's the point in having kids?
Yeah.
This is the dumbest shit ever.
That's what we do, dude. That we literally, and you know, that's the thing, is we always elevate the human race to this thing like that's supernatural, instead of like looking at us as the most natural thing and saying like, no, the point is to procreate.
Yeah.
And that's not only the procreation of like biology, but it's ideas.
The point is to be the apex predator.
Exactly. And we are that, dude. Like, that's the thing. I've been in some wildernesses, dude. I've been up in, well, mostly Colorado and, you know, but, you know, some wilderness areas and stuff. And I've never once been like, something might jump out and eat me, you know? The vast majority of human existence, even in North America, there's been packs of wolves. Like, that's the reason that there's all those bedtime stories, like Little Red Riding Hood, where she gets eaten by a fucking wolf. You know why they told that story? Because people were getting eaten by fucking wolves. You know, like, they were trying to say, look, little kid, we're going to scare the shit out of you about getting eaten by a wolf, because there's a good chance that you're going to get eaten by a wolf. You got to be on the lookout for that shit. Be careful. You know? Yeah. I mean, like, we used to live in such this tame environment where they don't want kids, you know, they don't want kids to hear dirty words. They don't want kids to, like, all these different things. They're like, oh, let's shield our children from all of these things. When it's like, that's kind of one of the things, like, I don't try to ever talk about it very often, but, you know, like, one of the things about the fire department and the emergency services is we deal with death for society. Like, that's, like, if somebody's dying, you don't watch them die. You're told to call 911, and then we watch them die. You know? So it's kind of like one of those things, like, it's this, like, my wife, I was talking to her one day, and she was saying that, like, I kind of told her about one of the calls I went on, and I was actually just telling her because I had to hang up the phone with her, you know, like, so I'm, like, talking to her on the phone, I hang up, I go on this call, I come back, and I'm like, oh, you know, blah, 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 kind of tell her give her the rundown, like, or not even give her the rundown, just kind of, like, basically give her a quick, like, little snapshot of the thing.
There's all the dogs.
Dude, I love little short-legged dogs, dude. It's so funny watching them, you know?
That's funny.
Yeah, it's so funny. That's what civilization has done to us. The same process that has turned wolves into corgis has turned us into, like, whatever the fuck we are, but...
That's a great way to put it. We're corgis right now.
Yeah, we're corgis. But it's like one of the... we're cute as fuck. I mean, like, be honest, you know? Like, watching them hop over. Look at that thing. Oh, it's so adorable.
I don't even know what that is.
But, I don't even know what that is. But, you know, it's like one of those things, like, I told Shannon, like, kind of mentioned to her one of the calls I'd gone on, and she was like, man, if I'd have seen that, I'd be crying right now. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if I was crying right now, I'd be fired. You know what I'm saying? Like, It's just kind of like one of those things that's crazy. It's like, I don't know, man. It's just, I feel like we've, like, lost so much from, like, we've taken the sting out of death. Mm-hmm. You know?
Absolutely.
What time are we at right now?
We are 2:08.
2:08.
And I know you're trying to go to bed soon, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually cool. I just gotta move furniture tomorrow. I don't even gotta go to the fire department tomorrow, so it ain't no big deal. But, and my wife's working on homework, and I think my baby's in bed, so it's like one of those things. Oh,
nice.
Yeah, man, like, I was like, so this was like one of my excuses to party. This is how lame my life has gotten.
Hell yeah, bro.
I'm like, I was like, oh.
I'm glad I could be your party.
Yeah, it was like, how far out did you schedule this thing? Because since then I've been like, oh, that's a party night for me, dude.
I think I scheduled it
like
before
maybe 2 weeks?
April, maybe. I don't know.
I mean,
very beginning of April.
Very beginning of April. That's why I was like, dang, dude, I'm gonna get to party, dude. You know. That's all. Like, my life, man, has just been babies, dude. It's just it's babies at this point. But yeah, what you got other some topics, man? We gotta hammer out some stuff. 2 hours, dude. I bet. Like, if it's my audience, we've already lost them. Maybe your audience is a little bit more engaged.
I was gonna ask you earlier because you said you write short stories. I heard that on your podcast.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing that? How many do you have?
Let's see. How many do I have? I think I only have 3 on my website. I kind of like developed a love for writing in the 8th grade. I had an English teacher who was a badass and actually got me reading books, which was like, it was amazing. I made it all the way to 8th grade before I ever read a book. It was amazing. But
that is amazing.
As soon as I made it to 8th grade, he started making us read like intense books and asking us some deep questions. Mm-hmm. And I'm a fairly competitive person. When it comes to like intellectual conversations, I don't like to be outdone because I think I've always felt a little bit what would the word be, like
competitive?
Well, it's like a form of competitive, but I've always had like a chip on my shoulder because I've always been like the dumb one in my family. My sister was always smart, so I've always been like, dude, corgi fight, dude. Talk about a blood sport, right? Corgis. But like I was always competitive, so like as soon as he started opening up the conversation in class, and it was almost a conversation who could have the most profound thought, then I was like, I'm gonna fucking read this book, and I'm gonna have the most profound thought in class, you know. And then he had us write 500 word paper every week. And this is in 8th grade, you know. Like I'd never written 100 words, and he was having us write 500 word papers. So that's really where I developed my like love for writing, and then it died out. You know, high school killed it. You know, and then once I met my wife, and you know, I've always dabbled with writing, but she was really the person that pushed me and started saying, like, you need to write, like, you need to for real get into it and actually like do like, if that's your talent, you need to actually try. Because I've never tried at anything. Like, I'm competitive, but never enough to actually try at something. And so, so she made me sign up for a class at Amarillo College. I'd already been doing the blog on my website, but she made me sign up for this class. And in that class, you had to write a short story. You had to write a poem, a short story, and I think something else, but I can't remember.
English was always my favorite subject.
Yeah.
I was always a big writer.
For sure. Yeah, and see, that's the thing is it pushed me. And the last thing I think was like pretty open. It was just like, hey, just write something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the short stories up on my website, I wrote for a competition, an X Prize competition. It was, imagine you've been transported 20 years into the future. Or no, like you're on a plane, and the plane disappears. And then when you reappear, you're 20 years in the future or something. You had to write a picture of the future that was optimistic. It couldn't be dystopian or, apocalyptic.
Optimistic.
So I was like, okay, and so that was my first short story was that. And then my second short story was for the class, was for the Emerald College class. And that one's called, I can't remember if I titled it The Fine Dining Bum on my website or not. But my concept was like, you got this homeless guy, and what he's begging for is money to go to like the most expensive restaurant in town. And so he saves up his money every time for the most expensive. And then he puts on like a show that he is this highfalutin, so he like actually has a suit that he has dry cleaned, and he gets cleaned up, and then he goes to this restaurant and gets like insanely drunk. And so that's my second short story. And then I just recently put up one of
I like that idea. A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Like buy cars they can't afford.
Yeah.
Go to restaurants they can't afford.
Well, see that was kind of the concept. Is like, I've often felt like I'm not sophisticated enough to experience the life that I'm privy to. Like sometimes I'll be eating food. My wife really enjoys good food. So she'll be eating the same food I'm eating, and she has a different level of enjoyment than I have. So I was thinking like, well, what if you had a homeless guy who actually enjoyed the finer things in life more so than the people who can actually afford them. So I was like, kind of
just lives for that one moment.
Yeah, he lives for that one. Well, and so the idea in the short story was that he actually has a condition where he slips back in time and re-experiences his experiences. So his thing is he doesn't want to go to a shitty place and eat because he might slip back and experience that experience. So like, in the story, he got hard up one time, and he went ahead and ate at a soup kitchen. And so for the next 3 or 4 weeks, he would occasionally slip back and experience the shitty person sitting next to him, the smells and the terrible food and everything. So he cultivates his experience. That's why he doesn't get a job, because he doesn't want to accidentally slip back into this monotonous experience of like working a shitty job he hates.
Wow.
So, like, that was kind of the idea behind the short story.
I really like that idea.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Read it, man. Tell me what you think,
That's
man.
on your same website as your podcast?
Yeah, I have a little short story section. And so,
check it out.
I try to put stories up there, and I try to work on them, but the thing is, like, I'm a terrible procrastinator. And I'm also, like, I also bump from idea to idea. So, I've got, like, probably 16 short stories that are, like, in various stages of completion. I just can't knuckle down and actually finish them,
Nice.
So, and if anybody's listening and they want a prompt for a short story, one of the ones that I've been excited about that I haven't gotten to work on a whole lot lately is I had an idea that, like imagine like the mirrors on the wall, if you could rewind the images in the mirrors. So the idea would be that there was a date where they discovered this technology to where they could rewind mirrors. So all the mirrors in the world get covered up because the value of the mirror is how long it hung in one spot.
Oh, wow.
And then the date that it was blacked out. So if you had a mirror that was from the 1700s and had been in the same room since the 1700s, and then in 2014 it was blacked, that means you have a picture of 400 years that you can rewind.
Not to sound redundant, but that sounds like an episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah.
You watch that show?
I've seen, I think I watched the first season.
Show's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy, and a lot of that shit's going to happen.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't, are kind of sleeping on that, but I think a lot of that shit, that's not even that far-fetched.
Yeah, go back and see memories and stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in there, if we can access it. then a technology can access it.
Yeah, that's
biological and chemical. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but
Just plug our brain into something.
yeah, hopefully. I mean, that's. Have you heard of simulator theory?
No.
That's what simulation theory is. Is that saying that within 200 years we're going to be able to create a simulation that is identical to real experience,
Like the Matrix.
like the Matrix. And so, if we can envision that that is a possibility, then the fact that we are living in base reality is actually super unlikely. So
Wow.
we're probably already living in a simulation of reality.
That's sort of the principle of the Mandela effect.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you've
Yeah.
looked into that.
The Mandela effect. I've looked into it, but explain it to me again.
Well, it's just like people remember things like the Berenstain Bears. You remember that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's actually the Berenstain Bears, but in my memory, I remember Berenstain, and it's like, am I in an alternate universe, or did I just remember that incorrectly? Ooh. And then there's that thing with Darth Vader where he says, "Luke, I am your father." That's how I remembered it as a child, but apparently it's not how he says it. He says it differently. I don't remember what his exact phrasing is. And then there's people remember a show. You know Sinbad the comedian?
I think he says, "Luke, search your feelings. You know it is true. I am your father." Mm-hmm. Maybe not Luke, I am your father. I think that there's like maybe a gap.
Yeah, but there's like things like that. Like, and they call it the Mandela effect because people thought Nelson Mandela was dead for like a long time, and they were like, "No, actually, he's been alive this whole time. He just died now." Oh, and I thought he died like 10 years ago or whatever it was, whatever the date was.
All
And
right.
There was what was the other one? It was Shazam. Is it Shazam? That movie where Shaquille O'Neal? Yeah. People remember. I don't remember it personally, but people remember a movie where Sinbad was a genie. Mm-hmm. Exact same concept, and it's just like almost the exact same title. I think it's called like Kazam. It's like one letter off.
Oh.
And like apparently that movie doesn't exist, but people will remember it.
Oh shit!
It's just it's kind of a mindfuck.
Yeah, that is interesting because I actually feel like I do remember a movie where Sinbad was a genie.
Really? See, I
feel like I do. I don't know.
It makes you second guess everything.
I might have to
like,
Google
are we?
shit.
Is there more than one universe? Like, what's going on?
Well, how much can you trust your memories?
Yeah, that's true
That's
too.
the other thing. Is like there's been so many times where like whenever you go back and visit something that you saw when you were a child, and then you see it as an adult, and you think, "Wow, I thought that was bigger." Like that happens to me all the time. Or I think something was more vivid or better looking or whatever.
That's true.
So I don't know. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely it blows my mind to think about.
Man, you want to finish off the 6-pack?
You got another one?
I think I got 2 more.
Let's do it. I'm actually looking up examples of the Mandela effect right now.
Okay.
My laptop is so slow.
Is it? All right, here. What time are we at? How long are we in this thing?
See, people thought Nelson Mandela died in prison back in the 80s.
Oh yeah, no, he was liberated.
But he died. Sure. He died in 2013.
2013. Yeah, dang, that is actually a little bit later than. I got to pee too.
All right.
Do you want to pause it, or do you want to? You can just keep. How about you keep rolling on the Mandela effect?
Yeah, we're
I'll
2:20
go pee
in.
real quick.
All right, you go ahead.
And then we'll drink one more beer, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah, it's really subtle things. This is weird, like sex in the city, sex and the city. We are the champions by Queen, and it's differently than what they thought. No time for losers, because we are the champions of the world. There is no of the world. The song just ends, and it's driving people crazy because they feel 100% sure that they've heard otherwise in the past. No, I've definitely heard of the world. See, this is a mindfuck, man. The Monopoly Man doesn't have. This is no, I can't do this. The Monopoly Man doesn't have a monocle. See, I always thought he had a monocle too. Like this is. Am I tripping? The tip of Pikachu's tail isn't black. Are they? They're messing with me, man. I can't do this anymore. Curious George never had a tail. How did Curious George not have a tail? Chick-fil-A is not spelled Chick-fil-A or Chick-fil-A. What? Dude, I can't do this.
Dude, that's actually, I feel like
this is all blowing my mind.
I think you were talking about Mr. Peanut. Like right there, once you said that Monopoly Man didn't have a monocle,
Yeah.
I instantly realized I think I've always merged Mr. Peanut.
You don't think Monopoly Men ever had a monocle? See, maybe it's
No,
because it's because they're telling me it's crazy that I believe.
I'm not saying I don't think, because actually, like, as I heard you say that, and I was thinking instantly, like, oh no, he did have a monocle, but then maybe he didn't, and maybe it was just Mr. Peanut bleeding over into Monopoly because it was all advertised at the same time, you know.
But you've heard "We Are the Champions" by Queen when he says "of the world."
Yes.
Yeah, this right here says that's not part of the song. "Of the world" isn't in the lyrics. So this is all tripping me out right now. This is like,
what does he say there?
it just ends. It just says "We are the champions," and then its song ends.
Huh. That's crazy.
Yeah, this is a BuzzFeed article I'm reading. So
BuzzFeed, okay. Take it with a grain of salt.
It says Curious George never had a tail.
I knew that. I knew that shit. I could have told you that. Type of monkey don't have no tail. How would it have come through his pants, man? That would have been a complicated animated addition.
Chick-fil-A has always been spelled CHICK. People tend to think it's spelled CHIC.
CH.
And then the hyphen FIL.
K.
Do you remember the K always? See, Darth Vader doesn't say, "Luke, I am your father."
What does he say?
He says, "Man, you're discovering something." Darth Vader says, he actually says, "No, I am your father." So that was kind of your...
No. There was like a gap. He's like, "Luke, search your feelings."
C-3PO isn't all gold. I mean,
I knew that shit. Man, it is kind of crazy because Vader means father in German.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they tell you that right at the beginning. They say Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. Vader is father.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Yep.
People think Mona Lisa is smiling now, but she used to be emotionless. There's 20 of these.
That's pretty crazy. I would not put it past us. Dude, I love these boom things, man. This is amazing having mics like this.
Yeah. I like the ones that I see on like Rogan's podcast and other podcasts because they don't have these wires. I don't know where the wires go.
Yeah, no, it's all like in almost like inside the... I kind of like the wires though, man. It's nice. Mm-hmm. But, interesting.
Hannibal Lecter never said hello, Clarice. See, I say that all the time. Hello, Clarice.
He didn't say hello, Clarice?
He simply says good morning. That's it.
Good morning.
How is a film's most well-known line non-existent? Nobody knows, and it's eating away at people.
Hello, Clarice. He doesn't say that? I could have sworn
I say that all the time just for fun.
Yeah.
The Queen in Snow White never said "Mirror, mirror on the wall." See, I remember that as a child.
I do remember that.
It says "magic mirror on the wall." See, it's like really subtle things. So it's like, but maybe I remember it wrong.
I mean, it honestly does make sense because you know how did you ever say shnikes as a kid
Holy
instead of shit? Instead of shit?
Yeah, because of what's that comedian that died?
Chris Farley.
Chris Farley, yeah.
Yeah.
Shnikes.
So it was kind of like one of those things. You know how that just happens across like a generation, right? Like there was a whole generation. I remember everybody said shnikes, right?
Yeah.
And it's like something. I'm sure like there's probably a linguistic term for that, but dude, this is my fourth beer, man.
Nice.
This is the thing is once you have kids, this is like a crazy night.
One more beer and you're binge drinking.
No, this is binge drinking.
Oh,
this is binge. No, this is binge drinking for me.
Do you remember Jiffy peanut butter?
Yes.
It's just called Jif. See, I think it's our brain. I think we just make things up in our own mind.
Oh, we definitely make shit up, man. I make shit up all the time, dude. Like that's one of the craziest things is like I've had all these times. Sometimes it happens at the fire department where I like make up an instance that happened between me and another person, and I've imagined that they didn't like me. There's a lot of people I'm sure on the fire department that don't like me, but I imagined that somebody didn't like me. And then there's like a time where we work together because we have different shifts and shit. Like there's a bunch of people I only see for 15 minutes every 4 months or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you work a shift with them, and before you realize it, you're like, dude, I really like this person. Like, we're, like, very compatible, and it's a great person. I love them, you know? But you think that they hate you based off of, like, really chance encounter or glance or some sort of body motion.
They were busy. They had
Yeah.
something else in their mind. I've had people tell me that too. There was a guy who said, "I thought you didn't like me." It's like, no, why would you think that? And it's just like because my body language at the moment. It's like, and I have a very dry sense of humor and I have a dry tone, so people think I'm like a sarcastic douchebag. Like that's just how I talk, dude.
Yeah, there's actually some of my best friends on the fire department. They had a hard time with their rookie year because of the way they talk, and people thought that they were like douchebags. I'm hoping that the 3 people that are listening. Actually, did you see that I did a podcast with Lance Vinson?
Is that the guy with the mustache?
Yeah, he has a mustache, but he's a fireman, and he's one of the guys like that. People just think he's a jerk based off of the way he talks, or like the way that sometimes he says some stuff.
Yeah.
Even once you get to know him, you know that that's not what he means, and like they're real dry. Sometimes they're dry. Like there's like 3 or 4 guys I'm thinking of, and they're like sometimes they're dry, sometimes it's hard to read them.
Yeah.
And you might read him as an asshole. Like that's the easiest way to read him.
That's definitely me.
But then once you know him, it's like, oh no, they ain't an asshole.
I had a Lubbock comic, Selena. She was like, "Do you not like me?" Like, and it's because every time she approached me, it was after I had a bad set, and she was like, "Good job." I was like, "Oh, thanks." Like I kind of, I didn't try to blow her off. I just wasn't in a good mood.
Yeah,
and
you ain't feeling that shit.
She approached me twice after like I had bad sets, and she was like, "Do you have a problem with me? Like, do you not like me?" I was like,
do you hate women or something? Like, are you a chauvinist?
Like, no, I was just in a bad mood. It's just a bad coincidence.
Yeah, that's funny, man. I just lined up incorrectly at the moment, you know. But yeah, so you started another podcast, huh?
Yeah, it's called the Heard That Podcast. This guy named Zane, he's a good friend of mine. He came to me and he was like, "Hey, I want to start a podcast. You should be on it with me." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll do 2 podcasts." Let's go.
How are you finding that kind of time?
I mean, I don't work on Sundays, so do 2 podcasts on Sundays.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You don't? That's the only day you don't work? Sunday?
Well, I don't work Saturdays either. But,
oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I usually do other things on Saturdays.
Oh, but do you try to plan everything on Sunday though? Like, do you?
Yeah, that's what I go for.
That's your podcasting day.
Yeah.
Nice. I wish I had a consistent schedule where I could do that. That's my problem. Is I don't have a consistent schedule. So like, and I've been working about 6 days a week recently.
That's tough.
It is tough, but it's good too. It's a blessing, you know. Mm-hmm. Like especially when I hear somebody say that they're out of work or something.
Especially when you got another child on the way.
Oh shit, man. I'm in crunch time, you know. Like I've actually I haven't been putting out as many episodes recently on my podcast, and that's the reason. Is because we're kind of in crunch time, you know. We got another kid on the way, and my wife actually just got a scholarship, so that'll pay for her next couple of semesters, and so.
But you try to do once a week, right?
I was. Whenever I started, I was trying to do once a week.
Yeah.
And then I went to one or twice a month. And then right now, I think I'm at like maybe twice a month.
See, I feel bad when I miss a week. That's why I try, like, sometimes I'll do 2 and I'll try to backlog them. Because, like, next weekend I'm going to be out of town, so I'm not going to be able to record and post one. So I'm just going to have to miss a week.
Yeah. See, this is my thing, is if somebody is getting into my podcast, I don't have as many podcasts as you got.
This is number 80.
Number 80.
Yeah,
That's awesome. I think I'm at my next one will be like maybe number 59, number 59. But my thing is if you even if you are a current listener, I know that there's episodes that they have not listened to.
Yeah,
you know,
and I don't even know.
That's kind of my thing.
I don't know if my fans. I don't know if the people who listen to my podcast are even listening to the full episode.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Is if you want more of me, there's plenty of me out there. I know that nobody's listened to all my episodes, all my podcasts. You know.
I just I don't really listen, like, follow him as close as I used to, but Gary V, he was just like push content out as much as you can, push content out every day, and I've just started applying that to like Instagram, social media, podcasting. Just put it out there.
Yep.
Someone's gonna catch on. It'll catch on eventually. It might take 10 years. Might take 15 years. I don't know, but
you got to start. Like
swinging.
That's the thing, is it might take 10 years, and you need to start it now.
Yeah, because not when you're 45.
Yeah, if you're wanting it at some point in time, it's going to take a long time. You know, like that's the thing, is a lot of people wanted to find their and I don't know what your measure of success was for your podcast, but mine was 100 listeners. And I'm over that, you know? So it's kind of like one of those things, like, to me, you know, set your goal at something that you can actually grasp and get to, you know?
The small steps, and then it builds up.
Yeah, 100 listeners to me. Like, so I'm pretty sure I'm at that. I think I'm way above that, but I think I'm at least at that. So hey, I'm successful at this, you know.
I can't check all the platforms I'm on, but I average about 40 to 50 an episode on Podbean, and then SoundCloud is hit or miss, and then I don't know how to check Spotify or Apple Music or everything else. But
Apple doesn't have any data.
Yeah,
which is weird as fuck. You know they're getting it. You know they got that data.
But yeah, it's all about longevity, especially with stand up. Like,
do you have a website?
I don't have a website.
What the fuck?
I mean, I have an Instagram. I have a YouTube. I have shit.
That's you're putting you're giving content to other people. That's what you're doing. Way to put it. Right there. You're giving content to Instagram. You're giving content to Facebook. Like, you gotta so that's the thing. The way I measure if I'm reaching people or not is how much traffic I get to my website.
So I should start a Squarespace.
Squarespace would be, I mean, there's so many platforms now that I can't actually say start Squarespace. I would say go to the place that's the cheapest, because everyone is going to be able to do more than you want to do.
Yeah. Well, my plan was to start a website at some point, you know, like once I'm able to sell tickets and shit.
Start it now, dude.
You're right. Start it now.
You got Yellow City comedy t-shirts. Sell them bitches on your website.
You're right.
Funnel everybody to that website, right? You know, and like that's the thing that I've been looking for that you've already got is people to collaborate with. You already got people to collaborate. So like right now, you've got 2 podcasts. Offer Up. Does Skylar have a podcast or a website?
No.
Dude, you could own all of them in a good way. That's the thing, is like, if you had your website, you could everybody could host their podcast through your website.
That'd be badass.
And it's good for them.
Yeah. It's good for everybody.
It's good for everybody. And like, that's the thing, is if you that way, those are the only hard numbers I have. So I have a little graph of how many people have showed up at my website. And then you have an activity log. So I can click on my activity log and see how many people have looked at what.
So your numbers are just on your website. So you've had 100 people visit your website?
I have over 500 RSS subscribers to my website.
Wow. That's badass.
So, and I don't know what the fuck that means. I don't know what the fuck that means. My main thing is there's like a traffic. Squarespace gives you all these analytics. Like there's a tab, an analytics tab. You click on it, it has all these different things. I can click on my traffic tab, and it tells me at the top, it gives me like a stock readout. You're down this much traffic or you're up this much traffic. I try to keep the traffic in a green.
Yeah.
Which means have a green number there. Whether it's 0.000001, that's positive. That it's green, right? It's a positive number, you know? So that's kind of more than anything else, like, because Facebook, I suck on Facebook. My links get barely any likes.
So people don't give a shit about links on Facebook.
I don't get any shares. My Instagram, like my stories, get maybe 100 views. You know,
how many followers do you have?
I think north of 500.
You're doing well on Instagram.
Yeah,
from what I've seen.
Well, I like the platform. You know, the reason that I like Instagram the most is because whenever I look at my stories and I get to scroll through, I get to see people I care about. And like that's actually like what keeps me going is like if I'm scrolling through my story and I see like you, like if I see that you watched my story, you know, it's like, damn, he watched my story.
Your stories are interesting. I like your stories.
Like that's the thing. That's what keeps me going. Is I love I don't necessarily care how big my audience or my reach or my any of that stuff is. It's like whenever I scroll through my stories and the people that have watched and are tuning in, and I can see, and like as I'm scrolling through, I'm like, oh man, I love that guy. Oh man, oh she's watching. Oh, that's all, and I can scroll through, and then I get to the bottom, and I can close that out, and I can say, damn, people I care about are caring about me.
That is a great feeling.
More than anything else, more than numbers. People want to try to, and I mean, that's the thing is the market rewards high numbers, right? But really what the soul needs is very low numbers. It just needs actual numbers. It just needs actual faces.
Genuine numbers.
Genuine people. And like, that's the thing is like really in the long scope of things, my main goal is to launch other people.
Because you can buy followers.
You can buy followers.
You can put money in and get 10,000 followers tomorrow, but it's going to be...
You can sponsor posts.
9,000 of them are going to be robots.
Right. And that's my thing is like, really, more than anything, I want to launch other people. Like, if like I've had multiple people on my podcast that should have their own podcast, and the second they start their podcast, it would be more successful than mine.
Yeah,
I know for a fact. I know for a fact that all these people that I'm interviewing,
I know exactly how you feel.
They would be more successful.
Or I just have like a really talented rapper, a really talented artist, and they don't promote themselves. They stay in their room all day. And it's just like, hopefully I can help bring you I don't get that many numbers, but hopefully something I do or say can inspire you to go out and fucking get those numbers, get those people watching you, because you need attention.
Yeah, one of the things that Joe Rogan said that stuck with me for probably years now is he said it's not how many people that are listening, it's who is listening. And I think that is a profound statement because I love the old concept. Do you have a Patreon account?
I don't.
I have one.
But I don't know what I would give away if I had a Patreon.
I mean, I just have one basically.
Honestly, I would encourage you to do Anchor, because my second podcast is set up Anchor. It makes ads for you, and then it requests money for you. Like I made $10 today. Yeah, for no reason. It was just like Anchor did a thing where it was like, help us keep this podcast going. You can donate $1, you can donate $5, you can donate $10, and people donated $10. I'm just like.
See, I have Patreon. I kind of like promote it a little bit, but I haven't really pushed any. The thing is, I need as few steps as possible because I don't have a whole lot of time. I don't have as much time as I would like for podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, really, a good podcast, which we're at, 2.5 hours now?
Yeah, 2:39.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah,
thank you for giving me this much time.
This has been an excellent podcast, man. I'm super excited to upload this.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying it. But it's one of those things, like, for me, 2.5 hours of a podcast and of a guest and stuff, that's a lot more than 2.5 hours of work for me. And so now you give me multiple platforms that I have to actually do shit on, and I have to write new blurbs and this and that, and I just don't have enough time for it, really, So I feel bad for my Patreon supporters because I have like maybe 6, and they don't get anything for the money. Like, basically, I just wanted to set up a way that people could donate money for nothing, for not getting shit. I mean,
that's what I'm doing on Anchor right now. I got $10 for nothing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
But
I do need that shit. I do need that. You're right, man.
I mean, hopefully there's at least 5 people listening to this podcast, and they can be like, oh, this Dexter dude's really cool. I'm going to go check out his podcast. I'm going to go check out his website.
Yeah, I hope so, man. That's the crazy thing is, like, the thing that, so my wife is very practical. She's like, if you are going to get famous from something, it's not going to be all the shit you're doing. It's going to be your writing, And she's pretty straightforward with that.
Yeah.
And so it's like one of those things, that's like the thing I've promoted the least out of all the shit I do because I'm so self-conscious about it. Because it's like it's the place that I feel like I have the most to lose. I really do. I have the most to lose.
That's the thing you need to put the most weight in.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like one of those things, like,
the thing you're most afraid of is the thing you need to embrace.
I know it is. And it's like one of those things where, like, I have a lot of different writings, and I have a lot of different ideas, and I have like a couple of different ideas for some novels and stuff. But I do think it's one of those things, like, I think I'm avoiding putting myself out there because I don't want to fail.
Fail hard as fuck.
I know you need to fail, and I know you got to fail, and you got to do that. And it's just like,
I'm gonna fail for at least 10 years before I make it.
You
as
say
as
that
a comic.
you say at least 10 years,
At
but
least.
see, this is the thing, is I don't. So the things that you consider failures are not failures. You know, like, I've had podcast episodes that before I upload them, I'm telling Shane, I'm like, fuck. I failed like a motherfucker on that thing,
I've had
you know?
that too. I've had that
like,
too.
I failed myself. I failed my guest. I failed my audience. I failed all these different people, and I sucked, and it's terrible.
Trying.
Right. Well, and then
You're striking out, but you're still fucking swinging.
But this is the thing. I'm not even striking out. I put the episode out, and so I do terrible on Facebook, right? I'm like, I should be doing terrible on Facebook because that was a piss poor production, right?
Just put your voice out on Facebook.
Yeah.
People will respond.
I put that out on Facebook. I fail. Instagram, hey, I'm getting like 6 likes or whatever.
Just
but then,
treat Facebook the way you treat Instagram.
what do you mean?
Like,
Post?
put your pictures on there. Put your life on there.
Yeah, I know. I don't. I actually took.
People are gonna respect your authentic self
as a
when you put it out there.
as a mode of freeing myself. I took Facebook off of my phone. So when I took Facebook off my phone, I don't post shit on
That's
it
fair.
because it's not easy to do. It's not like right at my fingertips anymore. But it's kind of one of those things. Like, I considered all these. I considered, like, hypothetically, I considered this episode, or the episode that I posted, a failure. And then I would get actual feedback from actual people. Maybe only 2, maybe only 3, but they would say, "Hey, I listened to that episode. I really enjoyed it. It was cool." Right? So there's all this metaphysical feedback that I'm not getting, but then I'm getting actual feedback from real people, from flesh and blood.
And that means more. That's
it
more.
Does.
Someone coming and saying, "Hey, I like that." Someone going out of their way to talk to you is way more gratifying than 200 listeners.
You messaged me that you enjoyed the Forest Sun.
That was a great
podcast.
episode.
And when you said that, when you messaged me that, I read it, and I actually closed my phone out and I put it back in my pocket. I didn't say anything back for a minute because I was like, I'm gonna let that sit for a second. You know, I mean, that meant a lot to me. You know, I don't get a whole lot of messages on Instagram, and so for you to message me that, it was like he took time out of his day to message me and say that he enjoyed it. Like, that means a lot to me. And so it's the very small things that and see, this is the thing that a lot of people need to realize. They can be negative as fuck, and it doesn't mean anything to anybody. But the second you're a little bit positive to somebody that you don't need to be a little bit positive to, it means a lot. You know, and it could change the world, like a little bit. You know, zero effort, you know. But it's not zero. I shouldn't say zero effort. That's not the right thing.
No, it's a little bit effort, but I mean, sending someone a message isn't effort.
Right. But it's going
it
out
takes
of
more effort
it's
to
going
call.
out of your day. It's going out. But that's the thing. Don't fucking call me. I want to tell that to everybody. My fucking cousin, man. I've been working with my cousin. I love him to death. I mean, this is blood. This is my flesh. I mean, when you need me somewhere, just shoot me a text. You know, like, don't call me. You know, but the older generation, they want to call you. They think it means something.
Yeah.
It's just communication. You know, but all that to say, man, like, it's the littlest, smallest things that can keep a ball rolling. You know, we referred to the ball earlier in the episode.
Keep it going, man.
And it's like, and that's the thing is, like, there's so many people in Amarillo, and there's all these, like, small groups, like, and I don't know why we haven't been able to mobilize. I know why I can't mobilize, because I'm lame as shit, you know, like, and I'm busy, like.
You don't realize it, but this community needs you. It needs more people like you. And if I can I want to bring as many people up as I can, even if I don't make it up. Like, I want to carry people up. I'll push you ahead of me if I.
Well,
have
see,
to.
and this is my philosophy with the podcast. I want to get as many sleepers on the podcast early as possible. That way, they feel like they owe me something. They're like, "Oh, you're the first person that put me on the podcast."
That is good to hear. When
Now,
you told me
I'm
that, I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm super famous, right? And like, that's like Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah.
Who's Eddie Bravo without Joe Rogan? Granted,
that's true.
he tapped out Gracie, and he's a black belt, and he's got 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, and he's got all of these
with Rogan,
things.
like, it's good, but how many people go on Rogan for themselves? You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Just like, just to promote themselves. Like, they don't give a shit about talking to Joe Rogan. They're just like, oh, I got an album coming out. Let me ask my agent if I can hit up Joe Rogan and he'll let me on. And
Do you think people do that?
I think maybe not most of them. But
I don't think he lets them on.
Yeah, he probably doesn't.
I think he only lets people on that he wants on.
That makes sense, yeah.
And so, like, that's the thing is what's beautiful about his show, and I think he's even spoken to it, is he is in complete control of his show.
Yeah.
He only has people on that he wants to have on.
There's Jamie and there's one other person involved. And yeah, but
who's the other person?
He didn't mention it, but he was like, I've got 3 people working this podcast, including me. So I don't know who the other person is.
Ooh.
It's probably whoever makes those little cartoons on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't remember who that dude is, but he's badass, man.
Yeah,
like
those are badass.
Those have elevated. Did you see the one with Alex Jones? The cartoon?
Yeah. I laughed so hard.
It blew my mind, man. But so, like, that's the thing is with that is then you can orchestrate it to where you're only talking to people you want to talk to, which doesn't guarantee. So this is one of the other things I've been struggling with is the difference between a conversation and an interview. It's really hard to straddle that line.
I don't like interviews.
I don't either.
I don't want to do interview. I like certain interviews, but I want a conversation.
I want a conversation too, but the problem is
I want it to go off topic like we did when we talked about the refugee language, you know? Like
yeah.
I had a set list, but I don't want to follow this list word by word. Like I want to be able to venture off.
Yeah, but see, here's the other hard part is how do you get somebody talking that is not used to talking?
That's the problem too. I've had several guests who weren't talkers.
And the thing is, a lot of the times the reason they're not talkers is because they're imagining the people listening through the wires. The wires, did you ever have the cans with the string on them?
Yeah.
And you're talking and part of the reason that was so fun is because only one other person was hearing what you were talking. And so you could say like, hey, I pooped my pants today, right? It's a secret. No one else is going to hear it,
Yeah.
And like there was like a little bit of a comfort. But I think that these wires being hooked up to the internet like freak a lot of people out.
Probably,
because they instantly know like, oh man, there might be all these people that are judging me or like, And the thing is, you're gonna sound like a fucking idiot.
Yeah, and I already have that luxury because I get on stage and I sound like an idiot.
Yeah,
several times a week, so
you gotta be comfortable. Like I've been told I'm an idiot my entire life.
Yeah, same.
So now I don't mind getting on a mic and imagining that there's a person with some headphones on or something, and they're saying, "Man, this guy's a fucking idiot." That doesn't bother me because I've had that said to my face so many times throughout my entire life. Man, you're a fucking idiot. That it doesn't even bother me that like there's a hypothetical person calling me an idiot.
Yeah.
What about all the flesh and blood calling me an idiot?
I mean, I've sort of taken it as a compliment. Like people will laugh at me and say I hate you, and it's like in a funny way, and it's like okay, like that doesn't bother me.
That they hate you?
Yeah, like they'll laugh and they'll be like, "Oh, I hate you." Like they say it in like an endearing way, like it's like ironically.
Like fucking hate you. I think most people actually do hate me. Like, when it really comes down to it, like the people the closest to me, like I think, like I love my wife, and I think the main reason that I love my wife is because she cuts through my bullshit more than anybody else. She doesn't put up with any of it.
Yeah.
So like she actually has this like vision of me that's the least filtered.
But you
out
need
of anybody
that.
Else. No, well, not only do I need that, but that's the only true love, right? Like that's.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason. Like like my kid. My kid called me babe today. You know why?
Why?
Because my wife calls me babe.
That's hilarious.
So he's copying everything we're doing, right? He's seeing stuff that I don't even see about myself. He's like this like amazing computer.
That is scary.
That can see everything about you.
All
like,
your bad habits going on to someone else.
Oh, dude, well, it's not even going on to him. He's observing them. He sees them. He's processing them at like a rate and at a level that I can't understand because I'm an old turd that's bitter and fucking like lame, and my brain is slow. His brain moves so fast that he sees things about people, and like so the language he plays with the language That's the thing is a lot of people get mad at their kids whenever they say no. No. They don't realize the kid is playing.
Yeah.
The kid is putting on an act. He is riffing, right? So I can either respond to him out of a misunderstanding of what he's doing, or I can see, oh, he's playing. He's on stage right now. Like he does these mannerisms. Like, do you see him in my Instagram video?
Yeah, I see him all the time.
Do you see his mannerisms? So like that's the main reason that I'm videoing it. Because these mannerisms just like they freak me out.
I'll have to look at it differently.
But the thing is, there will be times where he'll say, okay. And he does this like movement with it, and he plays with his voice. And the reason he's doing that is because he's copying us. He's playing.
He's an actor.
He's an actor. He's acting. So even sometimes whenever he comes up to me, he says, "No hug, no hug." That was his thing today. I'd say, "Emmett, can I have a hug?" No hug, no. And he'd run on to the other side, and he'd scowl at me, and he'd kind of be looking right. He doesn't know what he's acting. Like he's putting on a front. So I can either respond to him out of ego, out of saying, "You're my son and you will hug me," and you will, or I can say, "Oh, he's dialing it in. He's figuring out it. He's what is it? And it's not an act. It's a bit. He's doing bits all the time. That's
awesome.
That's what's amazing to see about little kids is they're doing bits all the time. They're trying to see, can I get him to laugh? Can I get him angry? Can I piss him off? We call it on the fire department where your goat's tied. Have you ever heard that term before?
No.
So if you come on, if this is free information for anybody who's going to get on the fire department anywhere in the world, maybe in the universe.
Probably universe. If
you get on a fire department somewhere, the first thing that everybody's going to try to figure out is where your goat is tied. And what that means is what's going to piss you off without a doubt, right? That's getting the goat, right? That's getting your most valuable thing. That's the meat you're going to eat later, right? Yeah. So if I can figure out what I can say to piss you off, That's just called having friends. I fingered the mic. Yeah, that's the thing is, as soon as I can figure out what I can say to piss you off, you better get that shit under control because I'm gonna use it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then boom, you can drop a bomb on somebody, right? At any moment, if you know where their goat is.
Yeah.
And so that's information you don't want to let out, right? You keep all that stuff. You have to learn how to control your emotions. You have to learn how to act, and
that's just being around people that roast each other.
That's a baby.
Yeah,
he's getting your goat.
He's looking for your weaknesses.
He's trying to figure out. He's like,
how do I take this giant down?
Can I get him to laugh? Can I get him to cry? Can I get him to scream? Can I get him to all of these different things? And he's dialing it in, and he does it seamlessly.
Baby
instantly.
Geniuses.
Oh, dude, he's a machine, dude.
That's awesome.
And that's the thing is he can manipulate the hell out of us. He can give me a look, and I literally would kill somebody for him. Yeah. Like he could say, "Hey, Dad, go kill that guy," and then give me a look, and I'd be like, "All right,
you must deserve it."
You're right. You're right, baby. You know the ways of the world. You
wouldn't lie to me.
He can manipulate me to an extreme that I don't even realize I can be manipulated to. It's kind of crazy. Do we got any other topics we want to hit?
Honestly,
what time are we at, man?
We're at 2:55.
Oh,
I'm ready to wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up.
I gotta
dude.
pee super
it's too
bad.
Much, man. Yeah, I took a pee break. You didn't take a pee break.
Plug your website. The Panhandle Primate Podcast is the .com. PanhandlePrimatePodcast.com. PPP.com.
It's terrible. It's PanhandlePrimate.squarespace.com.
PanhandlePrimate.squarespace.com.
I lost my domain name, and I'm too much of a cheap ass to buy it back. And now I've done so much linkage to the Panhandle's Primate.squarespace.com that I don't want to go back and rechange all those links. So
and I might not upload this until tomorrow night.
Oh, no worries,
just
man.
because it's already 10:37.
Oh, shit, man. Dude, I'm way past my bedtime, man. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to party.
For sure, man. Thanks
Isn't
for coming.
Isn't it crazy what you... Like, that's the thing, man, is when you get old you start considering things. I'm only 30. You know, I'm not that old.
It's honestly like surprised me how enthusiastic people are about coming onto my podcast.
Oh yeah.
Like, who am I? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm
just a dude.
I've actually had
and
that.
people are like, I'd love to be on your podcast. Why haven't you asked me to be on your podcast?
Yeah,
I didn't think you'd want to be on my podcast.
It's weird, you know. And then like I've actually had a couple of friends say that too. Like, man, why don't you have me on the podcast? I'm like, you listen to my podcast? That was the first thing.
Yeah, I always tell people you didn't ask. Like,
yeah, you didn't ask. Yeah.
I mean, when people do ask, I get them on immediately.
Yeah, and then it's like, man, you asked, but dude, you're actually lame. You don't know that about yourself. But you're
actually a super boring guy.
Yeah. I'm not gonna put that on me. You know?
All right, but Panhandle Primate podcast on Instagram.
Well, Panhandle Primate podcast on Instagram, and that's about it, dude.
He's selling hats.
He's
got blogs.
Got a blog.
He's got podcasts. Great guests.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen to episode, 56? Is that what you were?
I got to go back and look. Forest Sun.
Yeah, Forest Sun was a good one. That guy hit me up randomly, dude.
Nice.
Coming through Amarillo, dude. We got some amazing people. So.
That's awesome. But thank you for listening, everybody. Check this guy out. I'll drop links. And have a good night.
Peace.